Jaime Garcia has been very good in his career. This happens to not be one of them. Over his last 3 starts, he's given up 18 earned runs, 6 runs in 3 consecutive starts. He's got a fastball, slider, 2-seam, 4-seam, doesn't throw overly hard, has lots of movement, but as of lately, he has not thrown the ball well, having a tough time getting the ball in the zone, having a tough time getting ahead in the count. So we'll see after the Astros really swinging the bat well last night, what they can do against a struggling Jaime Garcia tonight.
Jaime Garcia has received a lot of run support during that stretch, but you're right, he is in one of those 3-game rolls or stretches where he is just not his normal self. And George Springer, talk about a guy who is feeling pretty good about himself. 16 home runs, 29 RBIs in his last 34 games. And against left-hand pitching, an OPS of over 1,000, 1166, the best on the team. He had a big night last night with 4 hits, including a home run. He starts out with a swing and a miss, and we're underway with strike 1 to Springer. Last night we had an 18-minute rain delay at the start. Tonight we have a 26-minute rain delay. Getting underway just a minute after 8 o'clock locally, a minute after 7 o'clock, where many of you are watching us on Root Sports.
Todd, as far as rain delays go, 18 and 26 minutes, that's actually not too bad. And the fortunate thing for both sides, the starting pitchers didn't start and have to stop. They actually delayed before it ever happened.
Springer down to the count 1-2. George hitting an opposite field home run in last night's game. Off the bat, he wasn't sure if that was going to go out. It just barely cleared the brick wall in right field. And that ball's hit hard up the middle past Jaime Garcia, and Springer is on base yet again. He has been on base 6 of the 7 plate appearances in this series.
Taking a look at our strike zone presented by MD Anderson, and you see a fastball up and out over the plate. And this is one of the problems that Jaime Garcia has been having. He's a sinker ball pitcher, but when he gets the ball up, he gets hit hard. And this ball, Todd, was hit extremely hard. George Springer, still, the timing is right, the swing is right. He seems to be barreling the ball every time he lets go of the bat.
He's having a good time, enjoying a conversation with Matt Adams over at first base. And here is Jose Altuve. Well, the new top 3 in the order looked pretty good last night, with Altuve picking up 3 hits, including a home run. Reddick hit a grand slam in his final at bat. He also had 3 hits. And George Springer, as we mentioned, had 4. So the top of the lineup, they had 10 hits between them. And AJ said this is primarily a National League thing going against the left-hand pitcher. He said he has contemplated moving Altuve to 2 and keeping Reddick to 3, but he doesn't like to have all those righties jammed up from the bottom of the order all the way to the top.
And that's not because of the starting pitcher, it's because of the reliever. Here last night, Jose put a nice swing on a hanging slider, hanging breaking ball, driving the ball out of the park. One thing we have noticed from this new park here in Atlanta SunTrust Park is that the ball tends to fly left and right field.
Slice down the line, and that's going to be out of play.
Altuve hit that ball a little bit off the end of the bat, as did Springer. Springer hit it to the opposite field. Altuve pulled the ball to left.
When you said it is due to the reliever why AJ sets up his lineup that way, he said on nights when he has Gurriel, Bregman, Marisnick down at the bottom, if you then put Springer and Altuve at the top, that's 5 straight righties.
And you have to remember, there's only a leadoff hitter one time a game, and that's to start the game. From there, that's what AJ is looking for. He sets the lineup, not necessarily for the starting pitcher, but there are times he sets the lineup.
Base hit into right field. Springer is going to go first to third. Altuve will take a wide turn and hold up. And the Astros, after a 19-hit game last night, start out tonight with back-to-back base hits.
Altuve with a nice piece of hitting. Another fastball up and out over the plate. Was a 4-seam fastball, was supposed to be buried inside. Jaime misses his spot, misses his elevation also. And you see Jose Altuve making him pay, and George Springer going first to third easily with that ball in the right center field gap.
Mentioned Jaime missing his spot. He has got a 44% zone percentage this year. That's the lowest for him since his rookie season with the Cardinals in 08.
He's just not pitching like the veteran pitcher the Atlanta Braves thought they were getting. You know, he was supposed to be one of their workhorses, and it just simply hasn't worked out. Just more than anything, lack of command. Early in his career, what Jaime's biggest problem was staying on the field. When he was healthy and on the field, dude was nasty. Now, not so much. The velocity's there, the stuff is there. He just doesn't know where it's going.
Falling behind Josh Reddick, 1-0. Josh carries a .342 average against left-hand pitching into tonight's game. And he foul tips one into the glove of Tyler Flowers, 1-1. You can always tell how the Astros fans have traveled during Josh Reddick's first at bat, and there are plenty of Wooston fans in attendance tonight. Some might be from Georgia, as his family's in attendance.
Yeah, his pass list is substantial over this two-game series. He might not even be, well, yeah, he probably is making money.
Fouls one back, and how about last night to cap off the 16-run affair?
What a nice swing. Gets a fastball from Jason Mott right down the middle. Jason Mott knew exactly where this ball was going as soon as Reddick hit it, and he drove the ball to right field, hit it into second deck in the chop house down right field line. That was a no-doubter. One of those swings that you don't even know the ball comes off the bat. You hit it on the sweet spot so well.
Reddick had 4 RBIs to go along with Jose Altuve's 4 RBI night, and Yuli Gurriel also drove in 4. Tonight, Reddick starts out with a strikeout as Garcia gets the lefty Reddick for the first out of the game.
Jaime made a nice pitch right there on Reddick after missing his spots with a couple fastballs, and Reddick not being able to capitalize. Gets a breaking ball down in the zone, and you see Reddick committing to the fastball because he was behind in the count. Swings right over the top of the breaking ball in the dirt.
Just like last night when Brian McCann strode to the plate for the first time, Evan Gattis on his way to the plate, serenaded by the Atlanta Braves organist with Welcome Back Cotter's theme song as Gattis makes his return to take on his former team, the Atlanta Braves. Not as many years here as Brian McCann, and Gattis sends one into shallow right center field. This could fall as Phillips reaches out and can't make the play. Altuve to second. A little flare base hit off the bat of Evan Gattis, and the Astros take a 1-0 lead.
Well, Todd, sometimes it's not how you hit them, it's where you hit them. And the Astros right now, it seems like they can do no wrong offensively. Evan Gattis with a pitch, two-seam fastball from Jaime Garcia, elevated a little bit, breaks the bat of Evan Gattis. He's able to get it just over Brandon Phillips' head. See how far Brandon went out for that ball? He went way out into right center field.
This is a big outfield.
Well, the way the Astros have been hitting, you can understand why the Braves outfielders, their first instinct is go back on the ball. Because they've hit the ball over the last 2 nights. They've hit the ball hard against this Braves pitching staff.
So Garcia has not allowed a lot of high exit velocity base hits, but hits nonetheless. The Astros have strung together 3 first-inning singles and have already taken a 1-0 lead, 4 batters in, and now Marwin Gonzalez at the plate.
We're looking at this on our Super Mo brought to us by Mattress Firm. You see how close Brandon Phillips got to the ball. Now he is way out there in the outfield. The outfielders are playing deep, but one of the things that Brandon Phillips defensively, he's very aggressive. He likes to go get the ball. He likes to have the ball hit to him, and he came awfully close to catching that one off of the bat of Evan Gattis.
Marwin has 52 at-bats this year against left-hand pitching. Has just 6 RBIs on 3 home runs. Most of the damage he has done has come as a left-hand hitter. Pops one into the air. Center field. Enciarte is there. And he puts it away for out number 2. Jaime Garcia, 30-year-old left-hander, will turn 31 on Saturday. Began his career with the Cardinals in 2008. Spent his entire career with them until coming over to the Atlanta Braves in the offseason. Trade on December 1st this past offseason. Now Garcia facing this Houston Astros team, making his 16th start of the year. And he'll face maybe the hottest hitter, not only for the Astros, but in all of baseball lately, in Yuli Gurriel. Gurriel's on a roll right now, 9 for his last 13 with 10 runs batted in.
It seems like every time he comes to the plate with runners on base, he's putting a quality at bat together. He's hitting the ball hard and driving in runs. And we see Freddie Freeman right down the third base line because he's hit several balls right on the chalk for RBIs.
You think back to the Aroldis Chapman base hit in the Yankees game on Saturday, which was such a big hit. Yankees playing off the line in that scenario, and Gurriel burned them.
And that was a 99-mile-an-hour fastball on the inside part of the plate. There's not too many hitters that get to that. But I believe Yuli was actually, knowing a fastball was coming, he really wanted to get the head out and did a nice job of squaring up the pitch.
And you know, as much attention as Chapman gets, and being a fellow Cuban.
Yeah, that was a little Cuban-on-Cuban crime. And Yuli will take it every single solitary time.
Yuli usually does not work deep counts because he puts the ball in play so often.
You know, it's strange because sometimes he's up there hacking as soon as the pitcher breaks his hands. Then there's other times it does look like he's trying to figure out the release point.
This one chopped towards third. They're going to let it roll, and it rolls foul. Freddie Freeman playing his second major league game as a third baseman. Coming back from the DL, and as well as Matt Adams has played for the Braves, Freddie said, I'll take a shot at playing some third.
We're taking a look at where Freddie Freeman is playing. You see him just a couple feet off that line because there's been so many times lately in the last few weeks that Yuli Gurriel has, hit the ball right down the line, drawn some chalk, most of the time with damage on top of it with runners on base.
We'll watch Freddie Freeman as he plays third base tonight. Mentioned last night, hadn't played it as a professional. Had one chance, but it was a relatively routine opportunity yesterday.
There were a couple balls down the line last night, but there probably wasn't any third basemen. If there were, it was just Arenado or Manny Machado that would have even come close to playing and making those plays. So just the one opportunity.
2-2 pitch. Bounces up there. That was not even close to home plate. That was about 50.
Thought a cricket game broke out here.
Garcia really missed with that pitch.
To say this pitch is in front of the plate is a vast understatement. That could have been 5 or 6 feet in front of home plate. That's a tough pitch to hit hard.
It's also a tough pitch for Flowers to block, and he
yes.
did a nice job.
He looks more like a goalie. He came up on that ball instead of going down.
Runners will be off with a 3-2 count and 2 outs, and a swing and a miss from Gurriel as Garcia strikes out Yuli to end the inning. But the Astros on top, 1-0. Brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. Back in Atlanta, SunTrust Park. Beautiful new stadium here in Cobb County. And Brian Snicker sends this lineup out tonight against the Astros. Ender Inciarte with 107 base hits leads things off. Brandon Phillips, Freddie Freeman, Matt Kemp 2 through 4. Nick Markakis in right field. The first baseman is Matt Adams. Tyler Flowers will be behind the plate. Johan Camargo is the shortstop. And Jaime Garcia on the mound.
Joe Musgrove getting the start here for the Astros. He spent one start in the minor leagues, threw the ball exceptionally well. Joe throws a fastball in the low, sometimes mid-90s, has a nice slider and a change and a split. They're similar pitches. He throws one with 2 strikes. That would be the split. He's had a tough time finishing off hitters, finishing off innings, but after that confidence builder there in Fresno,
First pitch, ground ball to short, and Ciarte retired.
We'll see how Joe Musgrove can bounce back. His last few starts, he has not thrown the ball well. Last few starts for the Astros, he's not thrown the ball well. But that was a good start. He only threw 84 pitches and 7 shutout innings, gave up just the one hit, no runs. So it was an impressive start. Impressive enough that A.J. Hinch and the Astros felt like he didn't need another one. Go ahead and get him back up to the big leagues.
Well, they felt like at some point he was going to come back, and certainly with the David Paulino suspension, that opened up an opportunity for Joe to get back a little quicker as he faces Brandon Phillips. But that last start he made was a couple of Fridays ago in Seattle, and things did not go well for him in that start. And they really wanted, if for nothing else, to have a little mental breather for him in addition to maybe working on some things mechanically.
That last start against Seattle, the Astros lost 13-3, and he gave up 9 runs on 12 hits in just 3 2/3. They hit the ball very hard against him. And after that start, he did need a mental break. You know, he's a young guy. He's still trying to figure things out. You got to remember, this is not a veteran pitcher that's been through all this before. This is still all very new to him and trying to figure out how to get big league hitters out.
He's ahead of Brandon Phillips, 1-2. What will you watch for tonight that you're going to key in on early for Joe Musgrove?
What I want to see from Joe is his ability to put the ball not just in the zone, but out of the zone. And that was a good example right there, to be able to throw that slider down and away, start in the zone, and break it out.
Slider hit right back to Musgrove. Underhand toss after it hit him around the midsection. I think he got his glove on it, though, to protect himself. And Musgrove makes the play to retire Brandon Phillips.
This ball was hit pretty well. It wasn't crushed. You see it kind of rolling up Joe Musgrove's leg, keeping in front of him. Then instincts take over, goes over, and makes the play.
Like it got him on the right thigh there. Joe,
Todd bruises heel. Earned runs are forever.
Joe, big tough kid. He'll stay in there. No visit from the training staff, and he misses to Freddie Freeman for a ball. So when you say work in the count, but also, or work in the zone, but also take them off the zone, what was he not doing in his last start or previously when he struggled?
Todd, I feel like there are times that Joe Musgrove throws too many strikes. He doesn't really have a problem getting ahead of hitters as he goes 2-0 here against Freddie Freeman. What his biggest issue has been putting hitters away and finishing off innings. When he gets 2 outs, he's had a tough time when he gets ahead the count being able to expand the zone. Like I said, throwing too many strikes. In his last few starts here for the Astros, you know, the ball has been elevated, especially when it's later in the count. You can get away with it sometimes early in the count, but not late in the count.
2-1 pitch. Freeman swings on top of that. He pulled the string on him a little bit there. It's 2-2.
I believe that was the split finger fastball, and you can see on the plate down below the zone, 5 or 6 miles an hour off of his fastball. That was a quality pitch.
There's the fastball fouled back. Fastball he throws 70% for strikes, so he has really good fastball command.
He does not have a problem putting either the fastball or even the breaking ball in the zone. It's how do you put hitters away, and that's a for some guys that comes rather easy. For other guys, it's a learning experience.
As you said, he is still very young and learning at 24 years of age. Joe has always pitched better at home than he has on the road. Tonight getting an Atlanta Braves team that lost last night but had just come off a sweep of the Oakland A's out on the West Coast. 3-2 pitch. Freeman stays alive. Well, Freeman's bat looks like it didn't need much in terms of number of rehab games. Came right out last night with a base hit, and now an extended at bat in his first AB tonight.
Yeah, it sure didn't look like he had 44 games off due to that wrist injury. The timing was there, the swing was there, got a hit, but had several quality at bats, as has he with this one here tonight.
Joe Musgrove just activated tonight before the game by the Astros, and the corresponding roster move. The left-handed reliever Asher Tolliver was optioned back to AAA Fresno. Not sure how they're doing it, but AAA Fresno keeps winning.
Yeah, it seems like their pitching staff is right here with the Houston Astro team, and they've got a 12-game winning streak going into tonight.
3-2 pitch. Freeman stays alive.
And they don't even have their manager.
Yeah, that's right. They got half their pitching staff and their manager up here with the Major League team, as Tony DeFrancesco, there he is, will be the third base coach in place of Gary Pettis. A little knee surgery today. We wish Gary the best in his return. Towards right field, but in the shift, Jose Altuve from shallow right. Gurriel never found the bag. Yuli kept looking for the bag with his foot and never found it, so Freeman is on first base. They could give an error to the first baseman on that play because that was a throw in plenty of time to get Freeman.
Yuli just simply didn't get to the bag to start off with. The ball was well struck, and Altuve had to throw this ball about 100 feet. See him backing up on it, come over the top. But Yuli never found the bag to start off with. So the ball's in the air. He's trying to receive the ball from Altuve and find the bag. And you can see he was clearly not anywhere close to it.
So now Matt Kemp, the batter, with a runner on first base. They're going to give Freeman a hit on that play. That is a generous hit because Gurriel simply couldn't find the bag. Yuli was fooled by the fact that he thought this was a base hit. Watch his reaction here. He thinks this is a line drive base hit to the outfield. Then all of a sudden he says, oh wait, Jose Altuve's playing there. And like you said, as a runner, you need to know where your defenders are. As a defender, you need to know where your other guys are.
Todd, to me, that's just a lack of concentration.
Ground ball to third is not going to hurt Musgrove as they get the force out at second base. So it works out okay for Musgrove. The Astros lead 1-0.
That was so fun. I want to do it again. That was so awesome. Thank you. You're welcome. Wow.
Only 2 games here in Atlanta, or else Julia would have a new adventure every day. For like
well, yesterday she had the adventure of trying to eat that pizza hamburger.
Burgerizza. And racing the freeze.
That's right.
Tonight the zip line. So yeah, unfortunately only 2 games, but Julia checking out all areas of SunTrust Park as Bregman down in the count 0-2.
Well, and today was a little bit different because she actually said she wanted to do this again. Most of the things that we send Julie on, she doesn't want to do again.
That did look fun. They have a little zip line here beyond the right field bleachers on the concourse level. Beautiful new stadium here in Cobb County, Georgia. Rays playing their first full season here, and so far it's been a better year than most expected for the Atlanta Braves. Just 2 games under 500, just past the halfway mark.
We're about 20 minutes northwest of Atlanta, in one of the booming areas here in the greater Atlanta area. And actually, when I played here, I had a house that was just a couple miles from this very spot.
And this area has changed a lot since then.
When I was living here, this was nothing but woods. There wasn't, I mean, they didn't take over anything other than Mother Nature.
1-2 pitch, pulls the string on Bregman. A little change up there from Jaime Garcia, and picks up his 3rd strikeout of the night.
Jaime, the last couple of hitters, Marwin Gonzalez, Yuli Gurriel, who he struck out to end the first, and then this at-bat of Alex Bregman. Looks like he's gotten into a little bit of a groove. He's found his release point. He's getting the ball down in the zone. And we're starting seeing that quality movement that he's been missing for quite a while.
Here's Jake Marisnick getting his first at bat. Jake now getting a chance to play a little bit more regularly, starting his 13th game in the last 19 Astros contests. And he fouls one down the right field side. Jake playing center field tonight. Last night when he came on defensively, he moved over to right field and George Springer stayed in center. Tonight they flip and George is in right.
Well, Todd, we know that Jake gives the Astros quality defense all the time. I mean, he's an outstanding defensive player. But he's been lighting it up this year, not just with the batting average, but also slugging percentage. He has been driving the ball out of the ballpark pretty well.
And they haven't been cheap home runs.
No, I don't remember a wall scraper. Every one of them seems like it's more of the tape measure variety. Now, AJ doesn't put him in there all the time. He picks and chooses when to get him into the lineup. But he's gotten to see a lot more, especially right-handed pitchers over the last few weeks because of how well he's been swinging the bat.
I want to watch the home run derby in Miami and see if anybody hits the home run sculpture twice, because that's what Jake did in a game down in Miami this year.
2 absolute bombs, almost in exactly the same spot, not just on the sculpture, but in the same area.
Ground ball left side. And the play is made by Johan Camargo for out number 2. Ton of promotions are lined up for the second half of the season at Minute Maid Park, including Baggy Hall of Fame weekend, exciting gate giveaways, and the first of many big and bright Friday nights on Friday, July 14th. Visit astros.com/promotions for more info. We were looking at the average attendance numbers before the game at Minute Maid Park, and they are way up.
Well over 30,000 per game. And the way this team is playing, Jim Crane was right here, owner of the Astros.
Broken back, ground ball to Phillips, and that'll do it. A 1-2-3 inning. So Garcia comes back with a strong second. It's still 1-0 Houston.
Poll tonight. Remember, you can find this on Twitter at Root Sports SW is where you can follow us. And we asked you tonight, which race from last night was your favorite? Was it Julia versus the Freeze, or Brad Peacock versus George Springer?
Julia, you might be the loser here.
I know. I'm perfectly okay with that.
They were both great races.
Oh, they were. It was really fun to get Brad Peacock's reaction to his base running after the game last night. He just laughed at himself. You know, he's got such a great sense of humor anyway, but he giggled about the whole thing and knew that he didn't have much speed or even what to do. He said that Altuve, he thought he hit a home run at that point. Wasn't real sure what to do after that. He could hear George Springer coming. We have some fun. We had the National League ballparks, that's for sure.
Well, Julia, did he tell you the last time he was on base?
No, not at this level, right? That was the first time.
Well, I don't think it's been in professional baseball. It had to be as an amateur.
AJ asked him what he was doing, and he said, "I tag up on a fly ball. That's what I was taught as a kid."
Just a fly ball off the fence.
Yeah, fly ball a foot away from a home run. Nick Markakis will lead things off bottom half of the second inning, and foul one back. If you did not see last night's show, first of all, shame on you, because we're getting huge numbers on Root Sports. But secondly, what we're referring to is Julia got to race the Freeze here in Atlanta, and they do a little race here at the ballpark every so often where the member of the grounds crew, who's incredibly fast, races a fan. Julia did it kind of as if she were racing, but she got to run her race before the game. And then Brad Peacock was chased home by George Springer.
Yeah, the Braves chickened out, didn't want Julia to beat the Freeze and knock him down a few notches.
We will see more with the Freeze and Julia Morales coming up on Astros Bases Loaded. She did a little interview with him, and you'll learn more about the kid's aspirations to maybe someday be an Olympian. That would be pretty cool. What a story that would be.
Yeah, he's a pretty impressive young man, and not just because of how fast he is, but the aspirations he has. And Julia was very impressed with him.
Swing and a miss from Markakis. Strikeout number 1 for Joe Musgrove. So here's the Brad Peacock, George Springer situation. Watch Peacock at second base, going back to the bag. Springer's like, run.
And then you see George right on his, you can almost hear George yelling at him, faster, faster.
He could not.
George gets thrown out at the plate.
He could not come any closer to running up the back of Brad Peacock than he did. And of course, Peacock's safe, standing. Springer goes in head first, and he's thrown out. That was very funny.
And funnier because the Astros were winning big at that time, so it wasn't an all-important run.
Pop up. Foul territory. Musgrove, who chases every foul ball like he's an infielder, and it's dropped by Gaddis. Gaddis was there. Musgrove was backing him up, but Evan kind of got in that on-deck circle area and just dropped it. The Astros haven't helped out Musgrove here early on defensively.
Evan looked like he wasn't exactly sure where the fence was. You see him kind of reach out for it, but what he should do is get underneath it and then come back if he has to every ballpark is a little bit different, and situational awareness wasn't quite where it needed to be for Evan to make that catch.
The other thing that's an issue for a catcher, and it should be caught, not make an excuse, but when you get near that batter circle, there are bats, there are donuts, there are things you can trip on.
Pine tar rags,
Pine
all
tar-
kinds of things laying on the ground. And he was right on top of that on-deck batter circle there on the first base side.
I think his foot may have clipped one of those weighted bats on the way to that foul ball, and there's a ground ball to Yuli Gurriel. So it doesn't matter as Adams is retired 2 pitches later. Well, Musgrove only adds 2 more to his pitch count to retire Adams. Now 2 outs and the base is clear, like what you're seeing early from the right-hander, I would think.
He's thrown the ball well so far. You know, one of the things is when he starts getting base runners on, that's when he has a tendency to speed up the game inside his head, and that's when the elevation comes. Out of the windup, he's throwing the ball very well. We'll have to see if he gets a couple base runners on, if he can keep the game nice and slow and continue to execute pitches.
Good breaking ball right there to start.
Did I say when? I meant if he gets a few guys on. Let's stay positive here.
Finishing off the innings, that has been an issue for Musgrove when he gets to 2 outs. Ahead of the count, 0-2. Tyler Flowers has done a nice job this year for the Atlanta Braves, coming in, as you see, with a .319 batting average, .410 on base percentage, which is 6th amongst hitters with as many plate appearances as he has. In the right field, Springer drifts back onto the track and makes the play. And a 1-2-3 inning for Joe Musgrove. Both pitchers with a strong second.
Astros Park here in Atlanta, Georgia, where the Astros are leading the Atlanta Braves 1-0 after 2 innings. Join the Astros on Friday, July 14th for Baseball on Tap. Enjoy beer tasting, music, games, and more before the Astros-Twins game. Visit astros.com/baseballontap for more information.
George Springer will lead things off in the 3rd inning. Has that average up close to 300 with a base hit his first time up. He's at 297. And he has been on base 6 times already in this short mini 2-game series. 4 hits and a walk last night and a hit to start the game tonight.
The game seems to be so slow for George right now. The ball has to look like a beach ball coming in. All right, it's time to play, presented by Toyota. George Springer, since his lowest batting average of the season on May 26th, hitting .370. Swinging the bat extremely well, not just for base hits, but he's driving the ball to all parts of the field. He is a real dynamic player for A.J. Hinch right now.
Has a count of 2-0. And Garcia catches the corner. It's 2-1. May 26th, we're talking about almost a 6-week run of hitting .370.
Yeah, he was hitting into 230s at that time, and now just shy of 300. That's a long way to come in a short period of time.
Springer on the ground towards short. And he is retired for the first out. Camargo makes the play. So Garcia is now retired 6 in a row after an RBI single by Evan Gattis. The Atlanta Braves right now kind of in the middle of the pack in attendance, despite their new stadium here at SunTrust Park. But you were starting to talk about the people that have showed up at Minute Maid Park this season.
Yeah, averaging over 30,600 fans a game right now, and in my opinion, the way they've been playing, they're going to continue to come out, and that number should go up.
Altuve on the ground. Camargo gets another chance. He looks like he has a really nice arm. 23-year-old shortstop makes the play.
Yeah, Jim Crane was right here in the booth with us prior to the game, and his last statement as he walked out at the door was, they just need to keep on winning. It's not surprising to come from the owner that he wants his team to continue to win.
He is watching things that no other Astros owner has ever seen.
It has been truly impressive to see where this team has come. 84 ball games, 30 games over 500 it's almost unfathomable.
57 and 27 to start tonight's play, and 30 and 9 on the road as Josh Reddick takes a strike. This team has such a big margin on the next best road team in the major leagues. It's not even close. Cleveland at 26 and 16. Garcia had 0 and 2, and all of a sudden the veteran lefty starting to get in a rhythm.
Yeah, he's got a much better pace on the mound. He's getting the ball, he's throwing it. The mechanics look like they're there, and he's getting the ball down in the zone. When you're a sinker ball pitcher and you throw the ball at the knees, that's where your success is.
Minnesota also a good road record of 25 and 15, but no one coming close to the 30 and 9 mark set so far by the Houston Astros.
Todd, I have been blessed to play on some very good teams. Probably the best was the '98 Yankees. Won 114 games that year. But I don't think the dominance, at least not to this part of the season, I don't think the dominance was there for even that team.
Reddick in the air to left field. Long run for Kemp towards the line. He slides, and it's going to be a foul ball. The thing when you consider where the Astros are now is they have done it without big parts of their rotation being healthy. And we're slowly seeing the rotation getting healthier day by day. Charlie Morton will pitch in Toronto.
You know, Todd, I think that's what the scary thing about this is when you watch this team on a daily basis, you look at their transactions, the players that they've had to put on the DL, the issues that they've had. You can actually say that this team really hasn't clicked on all cylinders, and they're 30 games over 500. What that really means is that's kind of scary to the rest of the American League.
Should be. Garcia loves that slider ahead 0-2, and there it is. He gets Reddick for the second straight time on that pitch, and Josh is frustrated early, striking out to end the third. Astros celebrating Jeff Bagwell's election into the Hall of Fame all season long. A special 5-game ticket package includes tickets to the Hall of Fame weekend in August and access to exclusive Baggy-themed giveaways. Visit Astros.com/mini-plans for more info. The season rolls on. We get a little closer to that Hall of Fame weekend in Cooperstown for Jeff Bagwell and others.
Jeff Bagwell handled Greg Maddux pretty well. We got a little Hall of Fame on Hall of Fame damage right here, with Baggy hitting some long balls off of Greg Maddux. That didn't happen very often.
No.
He was pretty good at keeping the ball in the ballpark.
No, he was outstanding all around. And you were there when he came over from the Cubs?
I was. In the 4 years that he won the Cy Young in a row. So 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the 90s. He did not give up a 3-run home run in any of those years.
Whoa.
Yes.
2-run home run was the max in 4 straight.
The best I've ever seen.
No
in
slam, no
control.
3-run home runs. Wow.
Is that crazy?
For 4 years.
For 4 straight years.
Johan Camargo fouls one back. That is remarkable.
He was the best I've ever seen at damage control. If he gave up 1 run, that's all he gave up. It was so hard to square the ball in those years. It was so hard to hit the ball on the nose, 3 times in an inning.
Musgrove continues to fire strikes. He's thrown 31 pitches so far in this game, and 25 are strikes. Ahead of the count on Camargo, 0-2. Camargo had been playing third during the Freddie Freeman injury. Now getting a chance to play short, giving Dansby Swanson a night off.
That was actually a pretty good 0-2 pitch that Camargo fouled off. That was the breaking ball that he actually got down below the zone. We saw Evan Gattis go down to block it. Camargo was able to foul it off. That was where Joe needs to throw the ball. The ball started in the zone and worked its way out.
Over the Astros dugout. Just like at Minute Maid Park, the Astros and the Braves share that netting above those dugouts, which protects the fans, and those are the kind of line drives.
I think it's a great idea. I don't know why it's taken Major League Baseball to do it. I don't know why they haven't made it mandatory across the league.
Got to think at some point you will see that across all 30 stadiums. And they're making the netting now, so it's becoming less and less obtrusive, where you don't see it or you don't notice it as much.
It's very thin. And actually at Minute Maid Park, they actually raise and lower it so that during batting practice, you still have access to the players to get autographs or any ball that a player might want to toss into the stands. But once the game comes up, then they raise them, and I just think it's a wonderful idea.
Extended at bat for Camargo, but then Musgrove gets it with a high fastball. 97 on that fastball for strikeout number 2. That's how we start the bottom of the 3rd.
After throwing several breaking balls down, Joe Musgrove goes with the 4-seam fastball, and he lets it eat in the top part of the zone. It gets Camargo to swing underneath it. That might be the highest velocity we've seen Joe Musgrove all season. We've seen 95, 96, but I don't remember seeing very many 97-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Now he'll face the opposing pitcher, Jaime Garcia. Garcia fouls one back. It's 0-1. I think Joe's thrilled to be back here at the big league level, and sometimes you just need that to get out of your routine. If things aren't going well, you're looking for some sort of change in the routine, and that happened to be, nobody wants to go down to the minor leagues, but that's what the Astros felt was best at that point.
Todd, especially for a young player that is really trying to get his feet grounded in Major League Baseball, there's so much pressure, and by sending him down, as long as he has the right mindset when he goes down, and it looks like Joe did, then it does take pressure off you because you can just pitch.
Breaking ball called, 3rd strike. He froze the opposing pitcher with a breaking ball in the corner. Garcia goes down looking. 3 strikeouts in the game for Musgrove.
Jaime will remember this next at bat, but I have no problem whatsoever. Why give him a pitch that he can hit? Why give him a chance? Go ahead, throw the breaking ball, get the pitcher out of there, and take the out and move on.
Musgrove had his bat shattered by Garcia in his first at bat as he grounded out to second. Now he's dealing with the top of the order, and Ender Inciarte. We mentioned during the Oakland A's series recently that not a lot of people would know that Chris Davis has the most home runs in baseball since the start of the 2016 season. Many people may not know that this guy has the most hits in baseball since the All-Star break last year.
Ender has been a tremendous player for this Braves club, and they liked him so much that they gave him, even though they're rebuilding, they gave him a big extension this offseason. He's one of the players they're building around, so he's going to be in center field for a long time for the Atlanta Braves.
Started his career with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was part of that big deal where Dansby Swanson came over. Shelby Miller and Gabe Spire going to Arizona.
Actually, in a little ceremony right before the game, Ender Inciarte actually got his National League All-Star uniform.
The Braves only home for 2 games. They were just on the road, played San Diego and Oakland on the road, and then came home, and just 2 games at home before going right back out. They'll play the Nationals in Washington for the next 4 before the break.
Sometimes these schedules really don't make a whole lot of sense.
But it was really their only chance to get Inciarte his jersey in front of the crowd.
Even these kind of series that the Astros and the Braves are playing right now, they call them home and road series. Play 2 in one park and then play 2 in another. And with the imbalanced schedule and with 15 teams in both leagues, this is the kind of thing that happens on occasion that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you got a bunch of teams that have to play a bunch of games against each other.
2-2 the count. Braves are doing a good job staying alive against Musgrove in this inning. Joe continues to throw a lot of strikes, but the Braves have been spoiling some of those.
See, a lot of these pitches are elevated in the zone just a little bit. They're about belt high. And that's where hitters can really kind of play with the ball, whether stay inside it or try and pull it. Joe needs to get the ball down in the dirt. That was a much more quality pitch. That looked like a four-seam fastball, had a little bit of cut on it, but it was down, and you saw Inciarte actually have to reach for it, even though it was still 92 miles an hour. That's the benefit of being in the bottom part of the zone.
On the ground, Gurriel, he'll take it himself. And Musgrove has retired all 3 in the third, has retired 7 straight overall. Astros lead 1-0. This pitching performance is powered by Kubota. There he is. Broadcast partner in the booth for this series and this road trip, Mike Stanton, 1991 with the Atlanta
Wow, look at
Braves.
that leg kick.
Woo!
I think I could do that again once. After that, you might have me in traction.
2.88 ERA, a whip just barely above 1 in 78 innings. You ended up with 55 saves.
Had a nice mullet, too.
You had a nice lettuce going there. Did that leg kick stay consistent throughout your career?
No, I changed it in 1994. Going into spring training, there was just too many moving parts.
Gaddis sends one to left field, but back there is Kemp on the warning track and makes the play to retire Evan Gaddis for the first out of the inning. So 94, you go with the big leg kick that we saw. 94 starts to change a little bit.
Yeah, I just calmed it down a little bit, tried to minimize how many moving parts. You know, that actually leg kick came out of nowhere. I had missed all of 1990 with a shoulder problem, and the next spring training, it just kind of showed up, me trying to generate a little bit more power. Stuck around for a couple years, was kind of my calling card, but just way too many moving parts to repeat for a long period of time.
You were here 89 to 95. Leo Mazzoni, the longtime pitching coach for the Atlanta Braves. A lot of great teams over those years.
Yeah, we started off not very good in 89 and 90, but come 91, go to the World Series in 91, worst to first against the Minnesota Twins. And then win again in 92. Both of them lost to Minnesota. Then we lost to Toronto.
Right.
But yeah, that was the start of the run in 1991. 14 straight divisional championships for the Atlanta Braves.
An incredible run that we may never see anything like that again. It's 1-1 to count to Marwin Gonzalez. 14 straight. And that was when the divisions were bigger than 5 teams.
It started off, we were in the National League West. Mm-hmm. The Atlanta Braves on the East Coast were in the National League West. And that was just a different era in baseball. I don't think that's going to even come. There's not going to anybody come anywhere close to that again. There's too many good teams. There's too much moving around. And it was just one of those incredible streaks we get in this wonderful sport we have called baseball.
There you see it, 96, 97, 98, 99.
Only thing missing was 94, and there wasn't a postseason.
No postseason then. It started in 91, 91, 92, 93. No postseason for anybody in 94, and then 95 all the way through.
There wouldn't have been 14 straight divisional championships if 94 would have continued, because the Montreal Expos were awesome that year. And I think they had about an 8-game lead when we went on strike. What was it? Second week of August, somewhere in there.
Gonzalez goes down swinging. Jaime Garcia on a nice little run right now.
Yeah, and the Montreal Expos, they were stacked. They were good. They could pitch. They could hit. And we had no chance of catching them that year.
Worst thing that ever happened to Expos baseball was that strike in 94. 2 outs and nobody on. Garcia's retired 10 in a row since an Evan Gaddis RBI bloop single to right center field.
Yeah, he's moving the ball around nicely. He's changing speeds extremely well. You know, this is the Jaime Garcia that the St. Louis Cardinals had for years.
Gurriel keeps the inning alive with a 2-out base hit on the first pitch he sees from Garcia. Yuli now 1 for 2. 4th hit of the game for the Astros. They are all singles. Last night on our Twitter Tuesday, we asked you to tell us about your favorite first half moment. Alex Bregman provided a pretty big moment. Didn't have a home run before this swing on the season.
On his Idols Day there in New York, Derek Jeter Day, one of the reasons why he wears number 2. First home run of the season. and a grand slam. That was a big swing against the New York Yankees.
Astros winning 3 out of 4 in that series against New York. That was when they took over the best record in baseball, and they have not trailed anybody since, as Bregman takes a pitch up high. All of Bregman's 8 home runs coming since that game.
Yeah, just to put something else on top of it, if you notice they were in pink, that was Mother's Day.
Yep.
So had all kinds of good things going on right there, and I think his mother might have been in the stands that day also.
She was. She got to enjoy the game from Alex and watched his first career grand slam and his first home run of this season. Gurriel on the move, and Yuli head first, but he's out. Tyler Flowers guns him down. Gurriel, the final out of the inning, trying to steal second base. A.J. Hinch wants to make sure that they did get the call right. Gurriel now 1 for 3 if this call stands.
Yuli not really known for his speed.
You can see Alex Cora, the bench coach, saying he is out, so no review is necessary. 1-0 Houston.
Nothing here in the bottom of the 4th. Connect to Astros baseball all season with MLB.com @Bat mobile app. Customize the app for the Astros and get awesome stuff all season long by subscribing to Bat Premium, @Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Download MLB.com @Bat today, the #1 app for live Astros baseball.
Joe Musgrove on for his 4th inning of work with a 1-0 lead. Brandon Phillips will lead things off. Musgrove will face the 2, 3, and 4 hitters, and a breaking ball for what else a called strike. Only 9 pitches out of the zone so far for Musgrove through 3 innings. 39 strikes, 9 balls in his 48 pitches. 1 pitch into the 4th. Back to the pitcher Musgrove. On 1 bounce, the big righty makes the play for out number 1. Joe has retired 8 in a row.
Time now for the Ford spray chart. This is Freddie Freeman. Now, he had 44 games off, but since then, no ill effects whatsoever. He swung the bat well in the last 2 games, and you can see he likes the ball, not the prototypical left-hander where he likes the ball down and in. He can get the ball elevated, the ball out over the plate. This is a big dude. He's got long arms. He likes to get that ball out away from him where he can get extended.
He has the lone hit of the game, but it really could have easily been scored an error as Gurriel spears the line drive. Yuli was the guy who wasn't on the bag for a ground ball to Jose Altuve. They ruled it a hit. Freddie is much beloved here, but that easily could have been an error for not covering the bag.
Yeah, it was at least a mental error, if not also a physical error. They didn't give it to him, but Yuli, not really knowing where Altuve was, playing short right field, didn't get to the bag quick enough. Altuve got him the ball plenty of time, but Altuve Gurriel searching for the bag, and Freddie Freeman was able to leg it out for a single.
We'll see if this continues. If that is the only hit Joe allows, they may revisit that. But still a long way to go. We're only in the 4th inning, 2 outs, and here's Matt Kemp.
I didn't know if you were making a call here in the bottom of the 4th.
Just the fact that he's rolling along. I mean, he's throwing pitches You watch where Gaddis is setting up, and he is a strike thrower, but sometimes he can be wild within the strike zone. Tonight, he is hitting that glove consistently.
First pitch strikes are very good. Already has 10 out of 13 batters he's faced. And this hasn't been a problem for Joe. Joe can throw strikes, and there's just times that it costs him because he throws too many strikes when he gets ahead in the count. But he's done a nice job, has several strikeouts today by expanding the zone. Here, fastball up, out over the plate.
How about that inning? He didn't throw any balls in that inning. He still has 9 pitches out of the zone through 4 innings. Sports is presented by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. By Spider-Man Homecoming in theaters July 7th. And by Shoppice Farm Supply, your John Deere dealer along the Gulf Coast. Come by one of our 8 area locations. Shoppice, all things John Deere. Pimento cheese.
There it is.
Melts. We had those delivered to the booth just a minute ago.
Yeah, we did. And
some curly
These things
fries
look
as well.
awesome.
Alex Bregman leads things off. Bregman struck out his first at bat. Both pitchers.
Man, I'm distracted. These things smell so good.
We're going to show you on camera here in just a minute as we just had them delivered right back to the mound. Garcia gloves and will make the underhand toss.
And here it is. I'm not scared. I'm going to eat.
Got some fries in there. Mike Stanton will tell us how it is. Thumbs up.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Pimento cheese patty melt.
Pimento cheese.
Southern.
Takes me back, maybe not with the hamburger part of it, but takes me back to my childhood, definitely.
Grew up eating those? Pimento cheese?
Yes.
All right.
I sure did.
Mike will be enjoying a little meal here as Jake Marisnick bats with 1 out and nobody on.
So Todd's got this inning.
Astros have had just one base runner since the Evan Gattis RBI single, and that was Yuli Gurriel, who was thrown out to end the top half of the 4th inning. As opposed to last night, 20 runs combined scored. We have both pitchers in a group tonight in a 1-0 game in the 5th. Astros had 3 hits in the first 4 batters, but Garcia has not allowed much since then. Hey. 1-0 pitch is a called strike. It's 1-1.
You know, Todd, we talked about Jaime Garcia early, how he's not really a power pitcher. He's also not a control and command guy. He's a stuff guy. And he's got, you notice the Astros just simply aren't hitting very many balls hard at all now that he's gotten on top of that sinker. He's gotten a lot of grounders.
Marisnick down the line in left field, and Kemp will not get there. This ball falls in for a hit. Kemp will play it on one big hop, and Jake into second base with a 1-out double.
Maybe that's all I needed to do was say something good about Jaime, and the Astros will start hitting.
First extra base hit of this game. The previous 4 hits from the Astros were all singles.
Looks like Jake gets a hanging breaking ball. He hasn't thrown very many of these, but Jake made him pay. Ball was middle in. Didn't hit it all that well. Still got it in on the label a little bit. Was able to dump it into left field for a stand-up double.
Musgrove hasn't had many at-bats since becoming an Astro last year. Just 0 for 3 in his career. He did bat a couple of times in the game against the Miami Marlins earlier this season. Put the bat on the ball his first time up and grounded out to second base. Joe takes a strike.
A lot like Brad Peacock last night, what we're looking for right here from Joe is a productive out if he makes an out, which is hit the ball to the right side of the field. If you get a hit, great. If not, get Jake Marisnick to third base.
Joe has looked decent in his few at-bats, the 2 in Miami and the 1 here his first time up. He did have 9 home runs as a senior at Grossmont High School in El Cajon, California.
Joe's a pretty good athlete. He's a big guy, 6'5", 240. I mean, this is a big dude. But he's got pretty good athleticism, nice eye-hand coordination. And you can see he looks kind of hitterish. Where Brad Peacock last night looked a little nervous, Joe Musgrove doesn't look real nervous at the plate.
Got a pretty good batting stance. That was a huge cut. Foul tip 1 and 2.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to get Marisnick over with that swing.
That was a Springer-like cut.
That's a pretty good pass. He was on the ball, just got underneath it just a little bit. You know, all pitchers think you can hit. I mean, it goes along with the territory.
After that swing, though, you've got to think Garcia goes slider here.
Slider changeup, going soft.
He misses with that. It's 2 and 2.
Missed with the breaking ball. I told you that Jaime was going to remember the breaking ball that Joe threw Garcia his last at bat, but Garcia missed with his.
Astros lead 1-0. 3 hits in the first 4 batters, scored a run, but then it's been a nice pitcher's duel between these two guys ever since. Musgrove stays alive. Not a bad swing against the fastball. I would be surprised if he sees another fastball in this at bat.
Well, with a runner in scoring position as a pitcher, you know, already down 1-0. We're middle part of the game. He just wants to get Musgrove out right here, and he really like to do it with the changeup. So I fully expect either a changeup or a breaking ball in the dirt. I don't expect him to get another fastball right here.
And a good take by Musgrove. It's 3-2. Big Joe putting together quite a plate appearance here. And if nothing else, Musgrove's done a nice job adding to the pitch count of Jaime Garcia. Out to make his 60th pitch of the night. Ball into right center field. Enciarte on the move. Instead, it's Markakis who cuts across and makes the play. A near collision between the two Gold Glove outfielders, and Markakis just cut in front of Enciarte as Musgrove hits it into right center field for an out and moves the runner to third.
That's one of those plays that it looks like there's no communication. Joe hits this ball pretty well. It's off the end of the bat just a touch, so it dies, but you're not exactly sure who's going to get there. So you just go for the ball, and hopefully there's not any contact. And you see Nick Markakis call for it right at the last second, and Enciarte cut in front of him to get out of the way. But sometimes there are plays in the outfield, Todd, that you can't really call the ball because you're not sure if you're going to get to it.
Good heads-up base running by Jake Marisnick to tag up and get to third as those outfielders converge. And here's George Springer. Springer takes a pitch up and in for a ball. It's 1-0. Good at bat by Joe Musgrove. He looks like a hitter up there.
Yeah, worked the 3-2 count, then got a pitch out over the plate. Hit the ball pretty well to right field, but it was a productive out to get Jake Marisnick to third base.
Springer holds up. It's 2-0. George singled and scored the first run of the game. His first time up. Run number 65 on the season. Second only to Aaron Judge in the American League.
George is so confident right now, even on his takes. He's got such great balance. You see Jake Marisnick kind of messing with Jaime Garcia. You got Freddie Freeman playing way back, almost in the outfield grass, so Jake can get a huge lead off third base.
Garcia electing to work out of the windup with a runner on third. And that's fouled. It's 2-1.
And Todd, that's actually a good point, because if he goes out of the stretch, Jake just simply can't take as big of a lead. But what this tells me is Jaime is just much more comfortable throwing out of the windup position. And with that, Freddie Freeman has actually climbed up a few feet onto the bag, so maybe it can hold Jake a little closer to third base.
Away, it's 3-1. Mentioned Springer trailing Judge in runs scored, also trailing Aaron Judge in home runs. Those will be two of the three outfield starters for the American League next Tuesday. The other will be Mookie Betts. Betts and Judge have played only right field this year. Springer has played mostly center, but also a decent amount of right field like he is tonight. None of those three has played left. Springer fouls one back to the screen. It's 3-2.
What a swing by George. He was looking for a pitch out over the plate, and he got it. But he didn't put one of those big off-balance swings on it. He actually puts a nice, compact, hard swing, gets underneath it just a touch.
He watched Musgrove and said, I can't let a pitcher swing harder than me.
That was a nice swing by Joe Musgrove, no doubt.
So now the count's full. And Springer chops one foul. Tony DeFrancesco makes the play.
See, Todd, with the balance that George has in his swing right now, that was a changeup, a 3-2 changeup, and George was able to still get the bat on the ball and foul it off, whereas if that was one of those big swings, those off-balance overswings that George does on occasion, he swings at missing that pitch all day long.
Into left center, base hit, Springer, RBI. Astros lead 2-0. Springer drives in Jake Marisnick with 2 outs, his 54th run batted in of the season.
Another changeup from Jaime Garcia. He elevates this one. You see it up out over the plate, but look at the nice balance on George's swing. He doesn't overswing, doesn't try and do too much. Catches the ball off the end of the bat just a touch, but has plenty to get the ball into left center field for that RBI single. George is just locked in right now.
He has been the best all season long at runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Another RBI in that scenario for Springer as Jose Altuve bats. He is 1 for 2. Fastball up and away, 1-0. Springer with that hit now is 16 for 32, hitting an even .500 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs.
Wow.
Nobody else is close to that number.
That's video game-esque.
Springer was dancing off first and draws a throw from Garcia. The only thing George hasn't done in the first half, and he's done everything, is steal a base. He's 0 for 3 in stolen bases this year.
Yeah, actually, he's right behind Brian McCann, because Brian McCann does have a stolen base.
Yeah.
And we've talked to AJ, and Brian lets him know quite often that he has more stolen bases than George does.
Sometimes you hear runners say with the lefty they can find a better jump because they're looking right at them, but others, usually it's the more deceptive pickoff move from left-handers.
There is no reading of left-handers anymore. No one waits until the left-hander goes to the plate. It's all done on first move now. So what they have to do is, instead of really trying to keep a really close eye on the pitcher, which they still have to do that, it's the right pitch to the plate. You know, try and get a breaking ball in the dirt, some kind of off-speed pitch that's a little bit slower, then get their first move jump to steal the base.
Garcia is really heavy fastball when he's down in the count like he is now, so you would not think this would be a good pitch to run on. And the pitch is grounded foul, 2-1 to Altuve. Jose with a single his first time up, 1 for 2 on the night, coming in batting .385 on the road. That's the best in baseball. Last year he was the best in baseball on the road at .372.
To touch on Jaime Garcia and his move to first base, just in the last 2 pitches, I've noticed that he's got a different leg kick. So he's not very deceptive going to first base. He's not overly slow to the plate, but you got to pick the right pitch.
There's a line drive past the diving effort of the shortstop Camargo, and Springer over to second. Altuve and Springer back-to-back hits with 2 outs. Astros continue the rally in the 5th.
Now the question, Todd, is how much did Springer being on first base have to do with Jaime Garcia kind of losing his concentration on Altuve at the plate? And I think it's a valid question, and I think that it had a little something to do. It's very hard for a pitcher to split his concentration between the base runner and the hitter. And what does he end up doing? He ends up hanging a curveball to Jose Altuve and giving up a single to left.
7 hits for the Astros. 6 have been singles. The double by Jake Marisnick. He came in to score earlier in this inning. And now Josh Reddick will try and solve Jaime Garcia. Josh has struck out a couple of times. Mentioned coming in, Josh was batting .342 against left-handers, but tonight Garcia has had his number so far.
Jaime's throwing a couple pretty good breaking balls down in the zone with 2 strikes, and Josh just hasn't picked up the spin and swung over the top.
In on the hands of Reddick, 0-1. Josh with career grand slam number 5 in last night's game, hitting one in the 9th inning to give the Astros a 16-4 lead. That would be the final score. For tonight, Reddick mostly in the American League, Garcia exclusively in the National League. They had never faced each other. Reddick doesn't chase that in the dirt. It's 1-1. Springer on second base, Altuve on first. Altuve 11 for 24 now in his career against Jaime Garcia. 1-2. Reddick swings over that one. It's Garcia ahead of the count once again to Reddick, and he is getting a little frustrated.
Not very many left-handers will throw changeups left on left, and he's actually just thrown back-to-back changeups to Reddick, and you could see the frustration on Josh's face because that was a pitch he felt like he could have done something with, and it just dipped underneath his bat.
There go the runners. The pitch is in the dirt, and we have a double steal. Springer to third, Altuve to second, and George Springer with his first steal of the season ties Brian McCann in that category.
McCann can no longer hold that over George's head. And the reason that was so easy was because Jaime Garcia had gotten into a sequence of just taking one look and throwing to the plate. At the same time, pitch after pitch, they caught up on it, and Springer and Altuve steal bases very easily.
Ball hit to right field, hit well. This will score 2 off the wall. Altuve in. It's now a 4-0 game on the 2 RBI double by Josh Reddick.
Josh, he swung over this pitch a couple times tonight for strikeouts, breaking balls down. Jaime Garcia, after going a couple changeups earlier in the count, gets a breaking ball and elevates it just a little bit. Watch the location of this pitch. That's where Josh can get to it. Puts a nice pass on the ball, drives it off the wall in right center field for a 2 RBI double. Astros scoring 3, going up 4-0 in this game.
Springer scoring his 66th run of the season. Altuve also crosses the plate, and Garcia, frustrated he has not been able to get out of this inning. After there were 2 outs and a runner on third, 3 runs have scored. Now here's Evan Gattis. Who's happier right now in the dugout than George Springer after stealing a base finally off the schneid and then scoring another run? He went hopping through that dugout with the high fives. After
just seconds later, gets to go over and tell Brian McCann, who's on the bench tonight because Gattis is catching.
Little tapper right side. The play is made. Garcia tags the bag in time to retire Evan Gattis. But 3 score in the inning, and the Astros lead 4-0.
Park, brand new home of the Atlanta Braves, and one of the really cool features in this ballpark is just behind home plate on the main concourse. It's Monument Garden, and the focal point is right behind me, the statue of Hank Aaron, capturing the moment back in 1974 when he broke Babe Ruth's long-time home run record. And the sculpture behind him is made up of 755 baseball bats that honors his career home run total. Pretty cool stuff. The video, you might be able to hear it or see it behind me as well, continuously playing for fans, where you can hear Milo Hamilton calling some of his biggest homers, guys.
Hammer and Hank. Henry Aaron.
Todd, have you ever looked at his numbers? It's crazy how consistent he was. Never hit 50 home runs.
Yep.
But it was like he hit 35 to 43 every single solitary year.
Nick Markakis leads off against Joe Musgrove. Takes a strike, 0-2. Not only that, he could run a little bit. He could steal bags, and he was a better defender than he was given credit for.
He could throw. He actually was a better hitter, but they wanted him to hit for power. So he went ahead and let the bat head fly in some situations instead of hitting for average to drive the ball out of the ballpark. But still, 305 for a career, that's something that people just simply don't realize. You think about the home runs, but the batting average, look at 3,700 hits. Goodness gracious.
305 career hitter. No batting gloves in that picture there. He actually started his career as a cross-handed hitter, and then eventually went back to the normal style, but didn't really know growing up that wasn't how he was supposed to hit. Matt Adams takes a called strike.
Just an amazing athlete. And rightly so. He is still, his name is still all over this organization.
Should be. And they do a great job here keeping it in the family. If you played here, and you did, and they're very strong in their alumni association. Swing and a miss on 3 straight pitches. Musgrove has struck out 2 in the inning on 6 pitches. He's at 59 pitches tonight. He has thrown 50 strikes.
We said in the open that he throws too many strikes. When he's getting outs, it's actually awesome. But notice where the location of that pitch was. He had gotten ahead of Adams with fastballs, and he goes breaking ball down and in below the zone. But because of the fastballs early in the at-bat, he had to commit to the fastball early, and just great location on that breaking ball down and into Matt Adams.
Rarely do you see a pitcher get 4 2/3 innings into a game and still have single digits in the pitches outside the zone column. He has thrown 9 balls in this contest, and he's ahead 0-2 on Tyler Flowers. He's got a chance at the immaculate inning right here. 9 pitches and 3 strikeouts.
He does. 52 strikes total, 61 pitches overall. So the pitch count is just fine. There's been a lot of foul balls, as you can tell, with 52 strikes. And we're here 2 outs in the top of the 5th. Excuse me, bottom of the 5th.
Does not get the immaculate inning. That is a 9-pitch, 3-strikeout inning. It does not happen very often in baseball. But he came oh so close to having that occur here tonight. He's ahead 0-2 on Tyler Flowers. In the air to right field. Springer came in. Now he watches it sail over his head. He plays it nicely off the wall. Flowers will have to hold with a line drive single. So an 0-2 base hit off the right field wall for Tyler Flowers.
Joe and Evan Gaddis decided to go fastball up. You see the glove at the top of the zone. What allowed Tyler Flowers to get to this ball, if you notice, that ball was away from him. If it's middle of the plate up, he probably fouls it off, maybe swing and miss. But since it was away from him, he was able to get that bat head out a little bit better and hit that ball extremely well off the bottom of the wall in right field over George Springer's head.
There is the first pitch outside of the zone in this inning, and just the 10th ball of the game thrown by Joe Musgrove. 54 strikes, 10 balls. Out of play, it's 1-1.
Now, Todd, with those numbers, that doesn't mean he's thrown 55 pitches in the zone. He's thrown 55 strikes. There's been a lot of swings, a lot of foul balls on pitches out of the zone. So he's doing a nice job of really mixing it up right now, even though he is very heavy in the strike category.
Line drive off the glove of Gurriel. Springer's going to have a long run for this ball. Camargo's going to head to second, and now second and third with 2 outs. That was a bullet off the glove of the Astros first baseman.
You can notice these Braves hitters are swinging the bat because they know that Joe is in the zone. And this looked like a cut fastball on the inside part of the plate to Camargo. He gets the head out, hits the ball pretty hard right at Yuli Gurriel, and you can see this ball inner part of the plate, maybe even off the plate just a little bit, but hits the ball hard. Yuli's not able to corral it. Now he's got a little bit of trouble, second and third, 2 outs.
Now Musgrove has to get the opposing pitcher, Jaime Garcia. 3 for 24 on the season is Garcia. Down in the count 0-1. Garcia struck out looking his first time up. One of 6 strikeouts for Musgrove. And Musgrove ahead of his opposing pitcher. 0-2. 2-out single by Tyler Flowers on an 0-2 pitch. And then a double by Johan Camargo. And now Musgrove trying to work through the 5th. Check swing by the pitcher Garcia. Like Estabrook confirms that. It's 1-2. Jerry Lane is the home plate umpire tonight and also the crew chief.
All right, after the elevated fastball on the 0-2 pitch, this very well could be a breaking ball down below the zone.
And Garcia stays alive.
He was trying to get it there, actually threw it for a strike. And there lies the problem with Joe in the past. When he's ahead in the count like this, 1-2, he's got to be able to get the ball to appear to be a strike and then break it out of the zone. Right there, Jaime Garcia was able to foul that pitch off, but that was a strike for that breaking ball was a strike.
Garcia coming into this year, career 147 hitter with the Cardinals. Broken bat, and it's fouled out of play. So both pitchers have broken the other pitcher's bats at one point tonight. Musgrove was in the 1st inning. Garcia loses his here in the 5th. Musgrove went 6 innings in his previous appearance against the Braves back at Minute Maid Park on May 10th. Picked up the win in a 4-2 Astros victory. Ground ball off the glove of Bregman. Fair ball. 2 runs will score. Jaime Garcia, an opposite field base hit. All the damage coming with 2 outs. And the opposing pitcher has cut the lead in half. It's now 4-2.
Jaime Garcia, pretty good athlete, but Joe Musgrove up in the count. You see this fastball is basically right down the middle, and Jaime with a little bit of an emergency swing gets the barrel of the bat on the ball, hits it pretty well. You see Bregman not able to corral it going to his right. And again, there lies the problem with Joe. A few too many strikes when he's ahead in the count. Trying to go fastball elevated, throws it for a strike.
Now he'll deal with the top of the order, Ender Inciarte. And Inciarte takes a pitch for a ball, 1-0. At times this year, Musgrove has been hurt by the bottom 3rd of the order. In the American League, that usually includes a little better hitters than the opposing pitcher, but Inciarte sends one high in the air, deep to right field. Springer looking up, and this ball is gone. Off the top of the wall, 2-run home run. Joe Musgrove started this inning with 2 strikeouts and was 0-2 on the 3rd hitter of the inning, and now it's a 4-run spot for the Atlanta Braves. Game is tied at 4.
That was a changeup by Joe Musgrove. Hasn't thrown very many of those. And Inciarte didn't hit this ball all that well, but had nice trajectory, created some backspin, and watch the location about belt high, maybe mid-thigh high, right down the middle. Inciarte hits the ball right off the top of the wall there in right field to tie this game at 4, excuse me.
Swinging and miss on the slider by Brandon Phillips. This game has absolutely turned on A.J. Hinch and Joe Musgrove. 2 outs, nobody on, 1 pitch away from a 1-2-3 inning had a chance at an immaculate inning, and then Tyler Flowers with a line drive single off the wall. John Camargo hit a double off of Yuli Gurriel's glove. Jaime Garcia, an opposite field hit off Alex Bregman's glove. And then Ender Inciarte with his 7th home run of the year. Musgrove ahead 1-2.
Man, how quick did that turn around? We were talking about how great and dominant he had been, in just a matter of a couple minutes, we have a tie ball game.
About to make his 78th pitch of the game. And there's a little soft serve line drive. Gurriel spears that. That'll do it, but the Braves tie the game with a 4-run bottom half of the 5th.
Headed for top of the 6th. We are looking back at some of the best moments of the first half, some of your favorite moments that you voted for in our Twitter Tuesday poll yesterday, and Marwin Gonzalez's grand slam against the Texas Rangers was getting a ton of votes. That was back on May 2nd. Remember, this team was down 5-0 in that game and came back to win it 8-7 in dramatic fashion. Marwin, who had a streak of solo home runs earlier in his career, coming through with that grand slam, was pretty memorable for him, his first ever. But guys, that was just a stretch where they would get behind and then they would rally back in exciting fashion. It seemed every night they were finding a way to win, and they had that never quit attitude that we begin to see that's carried all the way through the first half of the season.
Yeah, some big comebacks for sure in the first half by the Astros. 3 different times down 5 runs, and then that incredible game in Minnesota down 6 runs. Marwin Gonzalez will lead things off. New ball game now. Jaime Garcia in a 4-4 game. He did some of that damage with a 2 RBI hit in that 4-run 5th. Strike called to Marwin Gonzalez. We saw Musgrove so good with his command, but he was missing a couple of spots, including the home run to Inciarte and that opposite field hit by Garcia that scored the 4 runs.
He was cruising along pretty well, but the Atlanta Braves knew that he was throwing a lot of strikes, and they kept swinging, and finally they were able to get the barrel of the bat on a couple pitches to tie this game at 4.
Chop towards the left side. Freeman at third base. His toughest chance as a third baseman, and the crowd reacts as he retires Gonzalez to start the 6th.
Well, this has been his toughest opportunity as a third baseman so far. Charging, that's a tough throw for an infielder when you're running straight at your target. Sometimes that throw can go awry, but Freddie did a pretty good job of just making a nice throw over to Matt Adams at first base.
Here's Yuli Gurriel. Yuli fouls one out of play.
You know, Todd, when a third baseman is coming towards home plate, it looks more spectacular to catch that ball and throw the ball sidearm when he's not going to his target, but it's actually a little bit easier throw because he's able to turn his body and throw the ball sidearm. But when you're going straight at your target, that's a tough throw.
Called strike, 0-2. Freeman only had a couple of minor league rehab games, declared himself ready to go, playing in his 2nd major league game at third base. Last night had just 1 opportunity and fielded it cleanly. Yuli with a hit his last time up. He was also caught stealing. Ball and 2 strikes. Astros had a 4-0 lead. 2 outs, 2 strikes to the number 7 hitter. And the Braves would put up 4 runs in the bottom half of the 5th inning. 2-2. Garcia's in the mid-80s right now, 85 pitches. The Astros are getting bullpen action going, just in case possibly Joe Musgrove's spot rolls around in this inning. He's due up 4 from now, and Chris Davinsky beginning to throw. On the ground. 2 outs. Garcia makes the play on the comebacker up the bat of Yuli Gurriel.
AJ does have experience not just with interleague play, with dealing with the pitcher's spot in the lineup. His time in Arizona, he had to work the pitching staff, work the pitcher's spot. So the game's not going to speed up on AJ. There have been some examples in the past on American League teams that I've played with that the managers have been caught with the game catching up with them, things happening a little bit too quickly, and relievers having to warm up too quickly. That's not going to happen to AJ.
Alex Bregman looking for his first hit. Astros with 8 hits to the Braves 5. And the pitch misses 1-0.
Jaime does throw a 2-seam fastball and a 4-seam fastball. That 2-seam fastball has some very good running movement on it, and when he's right, it's actually a sinker.
2-0.
Then a lot of times when you see him trying to come inside on a right-hander, that's the 4-seam fastball. He doesn't want that ball leaking back out over the plate. But they are, even though they're both fastballs, they are distinctly different pitches.
In the air to right field. Back goes Markakis looking up. That's off the wall. Bregman will head to second base. He's there with a 2-out double.
Now the problem with 2-seam fastballs, when they're not down in the zone and they're not sinkers, they just tail. And you see right here, this is a fastball that just stays out over the plate. Alex does a nice job of letting this ball travel and driving that ball off the right field wall for a stand-up double with 2 outs.
Here's Jake Marisnick, ground out a double, a run scored. Astros with 7 doubles in last night's game after 7 doubles in the game Sunday to wrap up that series against the Yankees. Jake, Josh Reddick, and Alex Bregman with doubles tonight. 3 of the 9 Astros hits have been doubles.
All right, Jake has worked Jaime Garcia into a 2-0 count, so Jake has to make sure he gets a nice pitch here. Doesn't try and do too much, just put that nice compact swing on the ball, try and square it up and hit it hard.
Three 3-0 count. The pitcher is due up next.
Be very surprised if Jaime throws him a strike right here. And then we'll have to see what AJ is going to do with Joe Musgrove on deck. This is the problem with an 8-hole hitter in the National League. Not necessarily going to get strikes all the time.
There is a strike. It's 3-1. Astros do have Davinsky up, so you would think the reason he was up in case Musgrove had to hit, even though Joe's on deck, you would think AJ would go to a pinch hitter if Marisnick walks. Jake sends one foul down the right field side, and the count's 3-2.
Braves have Jason Mott up in the pen, and he is trying to get ready in a hurry. Looks like he's throwing a pitch every 4 or 5 seconds. Late phone call from the Braves dugout to get him up, possibly for the next hitter.
Broken bat, speared by Garcia. The backhand play, the underhand toss. And that does it for the Astros in this 6. We're tied at 4.
SunTrust Park. 2017 Coca-Cola Astros Buddies memberships are on sale now for just $25. Kids up to 12 years old get a voucher for 4 tickets to a select Astros game, priority access to kids running the bases, player autograph sessions, and more. Visit astros.com/buddies to get your Buddies Pass today.
Lots of Astros fans here at SunTrust Park in Atlanta, getting a chance to see this new stadium for the first time. Freddie Freeman leads off and fouls one back. Joe Musgrove on for his 6th inning of work. Freeman 1 for 2, single in the 1st inning, just like he did in last night's game.
Todd, more than likely, this will be Joe Musgrove's last inning with his spot in the lineup leading off the top of the 7th. So he wants to try and end strong right here.
Despite the last 2 out of the zone, his command has been incredible tonight. 66 strikes, 15 balls so far, the 81 pitches. And now it's 2-2. Joe ran into trouble with 2 outs, nobody on in the bottom 3rd of the order batting. And Jaime Garcia, base hit, is one that he wishes he had back.
2 outs and 2 strikes. Wasn't able to finish off the inning, and Atlanta Braves come back and score 4 in that situation.
See on that foul ball where Jose Altuve is stationed. That's where he was in the 1st inning when Freddie Freeman picked up a generous base hit. Altuve fielded a ground ball. He was ready to make the play, and Yuli Gurriel was surprised that Jose was out there.
He might be even a little bit deeper now. Freddie hitting the ball hard to him that first at bat.
Now that's about as deep as Altuve will play anybody. And you have to.
Yeah, I don't think you can. Well, even in that first play, when Freddie Freeman hit the 1-hopper to him, he still had to take a step back to get the right hop, and then took a crow hop to get the ball to Yuli. So even though Jose's got a strong arm for a second baseman, that's still a pretty good ways. That's over 90 feet, so that's over double play depth for Altuve to make that throw where he is right now.
Freeman staying alive, staying at 2-2. Freeman, Matt Kemp, Nick Markakis, 3, 4, and 5 in the Braves lineup. Astros with a single run in the 1st, 3 in the 5th, and the Braves coming back with 4 of their own in the bottom half of that inning.
Freddie is so good at fouling off pitchers, and that's something that good hitters develop the ability to do. That if the pitcher makes a good pitch, instead of taking it for a strike, able to hit it without putting it in play to get to the next pitch.
Freeman was 2nd in baseball and on-base percentage at the time of his injury. Hit by a pitch, missed 44 games beginning on after the game on May 17th. Continues to spoil 2 strike pitches from Joe Musgrove. What do you think about that sandwich that was brought up? The Pimento cheese.
I thought it was very good. I'm not the biggest fan of rye bread. So if that was on white or wheat, that would have been quite legit.
Good battle. Musgrove wins this one as Josh Reddick makes the play for out number 2. Freeman now 1 for 3 on the night. Excuse me, out number 1 in the inning, and that'll bring up Matt Kemp. Devo continues to throw in the Astros bullpen, so he will be the next pitcher you would think in line for the Astros. There's Chris Davinsky.
And A.J. Hinch just hoping that he doesn't have to bring him in this inning. Then what he would end up having to do is make a double switch, put somebody else in, and let them be in the 9-hole in the lineup.
Astros once again tonight with 9 guys in the bullpen, even though Asher Tolliver was sent back to AAA Fresno. Francis Martez is available out of the bullpen. 1-1 the count to Kemp. One of those nights for Musgrove where he was as good as he could possibly be for 4 2/3 innings. And then single, double, single home run. Other than that 4-batter stretch, he really hasn't allowed a legitimate hit. That Freddie Freeman ground ball was ruled a hit, but easily could have been an error.
And not a whole lot of hard contact in the previous innings.
There's a line drive. Speared on the short hop by Bregman. Good defensive play to retire Matt Kemp for out number 2. A.J. Hinch saying he wanted Alex Bregman to stay at third even despite the injury to Carlos Correa, and you can see why.
Ranging to his right, does a nice job of keeping his eye on the ball, and once he comes up with it, sets his feet, little pro hop, nice strong throw across the infield.
It's going to be the last batter that Joe Musgrove will face. A.J. Hinch is going to make a double switch. Jake Marisnick jogging in from the outfield. He will leave the game. Nori Aoki will come in. We'll have a new defensive alignment and a new pitcher in the game when we come back. Musgrove will leave in this 4-4 game. A couple of our viewers noticed that we were talking about Henry Aaron. We showed that he had more All-Star game appearances than seasons played. He did play 23 seasons, not 21, but that is possible because at times there were 2 All-Star games in a summer.
For a few years in the late 50s, early 60s, they played 2 All-Star games. So yes, he does have more All-Star appearances than he does Major League seasons. So that's not a typo, that's for real.
You have to be pretty good to have more All-Star seasons or All-Star appearances than seasons played, as Chris Davinsky, speaking of pretty good, takes over.
The not-so-secret weapon for A.J. Hinch, Chris Davinsky. Yes, he's coming in to face Nick Markakis as a left-hander, but that changeup is the key. It is a devastating pitch when he's getting it down in the zone, and he has just been a godsend for A.J. Hinch over the last 2 seasons.
Davinsky will bat in Jake Marisnick's spot in the double switch. He moves into the 8th spot in the lineup. There is that changeup, and Markakis waves on top of it. It's 1-1. Nori Aoki taking over in left field. George Springer moving to center, and Josh Reddick to right. Aoki will bat in the 9th spot, which is due to lead off in the next inning. And Davinsky ahead 1-2. So 5 2/3 innings for Joe Musgrove. 5 hits allowed. 4 of them were to consecutive batters in that 4-run 5th, and 4 runs. He pitched much better through the night than that final line indicates.
Still probably a little bitter taste in his mouth right now with the results. But he threw the ball very well tonight, and I thought he did a better job of commanding his pitches out of the zone. We did see later in the outing that once he got ahead of hitters, he was spending more time in the zone, and that's been the issue. But I thought this was definitely a step in the right direction. Chris Davinsky, his last time out, threw 2 scoreless innings against Yankees on Sunday, so he is rested.
In the air, shallow left center field. Aoki will call off Marwin Gonzalez, and that'll do it. So the Braves end up going down 1-2-3. Davinsky gets the final out.
For Astros and Braves here at SunTrust Park, the Astros road ahead is driven by DeMontron RV. Pitching matchup for the 4-game series in Toronto. Yes, you see on Friday, Charlie Morton will be making a comeback. And the TBA on Sunday, that's either going to be Brad Peacock or Francis Martez. A.J. Hinch still trying to figure out which way he wants to go with that. But some pretty good pitching matchups over the weekend for a Blue Jays team that really has underachieved this year and not played very good baseball.
Two lefties of the 4 the Astros will face. They'll face Liriano tomorrow, and then Jay Happ to wrap up the proverbial first half going into the All-Star break. So 4 of 6 lefty starters on this trip. As we play here in the 7th inning. And the Blue Jays have been disappointing. They did win today, but 38-45 overall. They got off to such a slow start. They're still trying to fight their way back towards 500. Here's Nori Aoki. Came on as part of a double switch, getting his first at bat. Nori has done well in his career against left-hand pitching.
He does such a nice job of letting the ball travel, and a lot like Ichiro, spends a lot of time trying to hit the ball the opposite field.
A comfortable swing there. It's 1-1. As George Springer and Jose Altuve do up after Aoki, there is a right-hander warming up in the Braves bullpen. Line drive, left center field, base hit. Could it split the gap? Yes, all the way to the wall. Aoki to second. He will make the turn and hold up. Nori Aoki, a leadoff double here in the 7th, 4th double of the game for the Astros.
Even with both outfielders, both Matt Kemp and Inciarte, playing to the opposite field on a pretty hard shift in the outfield, Nori Aoki gets a pitch out over the plate just a little bit, does a real nice job of barreling up this ball and driving this by Inciarte in all the way to the wall in left center field. And that's going to be all for Jaime Garcia tonight.
Garcia leaves after the leadoff double by Nori Aoki. We'll tell you about the new Braves reliever when we come back. Seventh inning, Aoki on second base, and the new pitcher is Jason Mott.
Jason Mott, 26-year-old right-hander, gave up a season-high 4 runs last night. That was on one swing to Josh Reddick, the grand slam late in the game. Fastball slider, or fastball cutter, and mostly cutter, especially to right-handed pitchers. Had Tommy John in 2013. The fastball really hasn't come back, has had to kind of reinvent himself throwing all those cut fastballs.
ERA went from 1.78 to 3.08 with one swing of the bat last night from Josh Reddick. And he starts out George Springer with a pitch away for a ball 1-0. Springer faced Mott last night for the first time, had an infield hit. In fact, the 3 guys Mott will face here, Springer, Altuve, and Reddick, went single walk home run last night. Going righty versus righty in this scenario. Julia, was it exciting for George Springer to get his first steal of the year?
His first steal, yes. So he comes off the field screaming, "I got one, I got one." And then he turned around and he said, "Me and Mac are tied." And so joyful. The smile on his face was huge as he said that. Of course, his teammates definitely knew what was going on. So lots of high fives and celebrating for George's first stolen base.
So the only one now that is really a shocker is Correa doesn't have one.
Yeah, Carlos hasn't even attempted a steal this year. So the high fives were going and Springer screaming, "I got one."
Oh yeah, this place was a party over here for George. There's so much trash talking going on between some of these guys, especially with George, who you know, he has a good time with everyone on this team. Everybody loves George. They all flock to him. But if you mess with George, he'll mess with you right back.
A pretty dynamic personality. He's definitely the ringleader down there in that dugout.
He being elected first time ever to the All-Star game was a big deal for him. You know, he's got a good support group with his family and his fiance, and so he was real quick to credit, you know, just how much they've done for him and getting him to this point. But you can tell it really meant a lot for him to be voted by the fans and to get this recognition, because he has worked so hard on so many different things, guys.
Trying to break the tie with a single to center field, and he does. Noriaoki scores a run as Springer knocks in another. It's 5-4. Springer with 2 RBIs and 2 runs scored in this game.
George Springer with his 3rd hit on the night, with a big fist pump after he rounds first base, knowing that he just broke this 4-all tie to give the Astros a 5-4 lead. Gets a fastball 94 miles an hour on the inside corner part of the plate. Hits the barrel of the bat, and we talked about it earlier, Todd. It just seems like every time he swings the bat, he's finding the barrel. I mean, the timing is just remarkable. Just does a nice job of not trying to hit that ball out of the ballpark. Just take the RBI up the middle.
Astros regain the lead. Here's Jose Altuve. Altuve with a big swing, fouls one back. Altuve walked against Jason Mott last night. 2 more hits for Altuve and 3 at-bats, coming in as a .385 hitter on the road this season. That's the best in baseball. Left-hander had been warming in the Braves bullpen. Josh Reddick hit a grand slam off Jason Mott last night. He's on deck. Could be the last batter of Jason Mott faces. 0-1 pitch is fouled out of play. Altuve, single and a stolen base, part of a double steal with George Springer in the 5th inning. Altuve 17, Springer's first.
Jason Mott just wants to get these Houston Astros the heck out of town. Last night giving up a 4-spot, ERA going up almost 2 full runs with that grand slam from Reddick, and now giving up the lead here to Springer.
Count 1-2 on Altuve. Prior to that game last night, Mott had only allowed 5 runs on the season, and 4 of them were on home runs. 4 home runs of the 5 runs allowed, and then he allows a grand slam. So the long ball has really plagued him this year, the few times he has allowed a run.
Well, with the fastball cutter combination, everything is hard. So the hitter doesn't really have to guess about velocity. It's all about location.
Pitch up and in. Springer going for another bag, and he has it. A straight steal, not a double steal. Now Springer with 2 on the game as he makes sure everybody in the dugout's aware he got his second.
Jose Altuve taking a little bit of time to get up off the dirt there.
Watch the hand, the right hand. So how many steals do you have now, George? I got 2.
You know, that was straight to Brian McCann.
In scoring position now with nobody out.
That pitch was way up and into Altuve. Ended up on his rear end.
This one down, and Altuve, after being down in the count, now has worked the count full.
Those pitches up and in, they don't usually affect Jose Altuve. He'll stick his nose right back in there, usually expecting the next pitch to be away from him.
Into right center field. This ball is going to go all the way to the wall. Springer scores easily. Altuve to second. Astros lead 6-4.
Jose Altuve does it yet again after pitching him inside the whole at bat. Mott gets a fastball pretty much down the middle. Jose not trying to pull it. Stays inside it very nicely. Drives it all the way to the wall, right center field. You see Springer just coast into home plate. Houston Astros take a 6-4 lead, and that'll be it for Jason Mott.
5th double of the game, 12 in this series. The Astros lead 6-4. Back with more after this. 7th inning, Jose Altuve. Johan Camargo having a little discussion. Astros taking a 2-run lead in this inning with a couple of doubles, and now the Braves go to the left-hander with Josh Reddick due up. It's Sam Freeman.
30-year-old left-handers, 4-seam, 2-seam fastball, both in the mid-90s. Has some control and command issues. Doesn't always throw strikes. Got 14 walks in 26 1/3 innings. He's got a good arm, but doesn't necessarily always know where that ball's going.
Facing Josh Reddick. A lot of sliders against left-hand hitters, mostly fastball sliders when he faces a lefty. Reddick with a double for an RBI his last time up. He scored Altuve and Springer, 2 RBI double. Josh went 1 for 3 against Jaime Garcia, facing a left-hand pitcher for the 4th time tonight. Back through the middle. Nice backhand play. Camargo to retire Reddick. On the play, Altuve to third. The young shortstop making a good play for the first out of the inning.
Johan Camargo does a nice job of going to his right. Now, yes, this ball is right up the middle, but they had the shift on. He was playing on the first base side of second base. Did a nice job ranging to his right, setting his feet. Nice strong throw across the infield to get Josh Reddick.
Here's Evan Gattis with the infield drawn in. Runner on third base and 1 out. Gattis 1 for 3. Singled in the game's first run. Astros lead 6-4.
Now that was a productive out for Reddick. He hit the ball behind Jose Altuve, so Altuve was able to take third base. You got a man on third now with less than 2 outs because of that ground out up the middle.
Nothing in 2. Sam Freeman just turned 30 a couple of weeks ago from Houston.
Freeman is a fastball slider to lefties, mostly fastball split to right-handers, and that was the split finger fastball there. Guy's got a good arm, just hasn't been able to repeat those mechanics in his career.
And Gattis with a good take. It's 1-2. Evan getting the start tonight. Singled, lined out to left, and grounded out. Astros will face a 3rd consecutive left-hand starter tomorrow. McCann started last night. On the ground, and glove by Freeman on the broken bat. Gattis retired, and Altuve had to stay at third.
Another split finger fastball from Sam Freeman. Gets Gattis out in front, hits the ball to Freddie Freeman's left. Takes a step or two, doesn't have to dive. Sets his feet, throws the ball over across the infield. That's a pretty big wingspan there. Even if he doesn't have the quickest first step, that's a big dude playing third base. He can we'll have to wait and see exactly. So far, so good, him playing third base here.
Here's Marwin Gonzalez, 0 for 3. Looking to pick up a 2-out RBI with the Astros leading 6-4. Freeman misses inside for ball 1. All of Marwin's at bats tonight have been right-handed. Jason Mott just faced 2 hitters, Springer and Altuve. He allowed a single to George Springer, a stolen base, and a double by Jose Altuve. Second double of this inning. And the 5th double of the game for the Astros. Freeman misses. It's 2-0. Hebron High School product from Carrollton, Texas. Born in Houston, went to high school in Carrollton. You know, the number of doubles the Astros are hitting right now is off the charts. When they hit 7 doubles Sunday, followed by 7 doubles in last night's game, it was since 1913, over 100 years ago, only the 12th team in Major League history to record back-to-back games of 7 or more doubles. And tonight, they have 5, still have a few at-bats to go.
So we talk about the Astros' power, and power doesn't always mean driving the ball out of the ballpark. It's really, you know, extra base hits. And, you know, the Astros have just put the ball in the outfield, put the ball in the gaps, run hard out of the box. So they got a shot.
There's a ball past the shortstop, Camargo into left field. 2-out RBI for Marwin. Astros lead 7-4.
Marwin with another quality at-bat and big RBI for this club. Gets a pitch, gets a split finger fastball. Not a bad location. It is for a strike out over the plate. Marwin doesn't catch it right on the barrel, hits it off the end just a little bit, but with the nice flat bat path through the zone, able to drive the ball through that left side to get that 3rd run of the inning and the 7th for the night for the Astros to give them that 3-run lead.
Yuli Gurriel bats and takes a pitch for a ball, 1-0. Both those last 2 runs charged to Jason Mott. You mentioned he would be happy to see the Astros get out of town. He allowed 6 runs in a full inning of work in 2 appearances. And there's a line drive into center field. Yuli with his 2nd hit of the game.
My goodness, that ball was absolutely demolished. I'm just glad that wasn't hit at Sam Freeman and right over the top of his head. That's about as clean a sound as you're going to hear off the bat when you're talking about hitting with a wooden bat. Pitch out over the plate, elevated just a little bit. Nice swing, but that ball's hit right dead on the sweet spot for Yuli Gurriel.
Yuli now 11 for his last 17. Here's Alex Bregman, doubled in his last at bat. Chris Davinsky has a bat and he is on deck.
With that Gurriel single, the Astros now have 14 hits tonight, and it's just it's really remarkable to see what this team's doing offensively.
In a perfect world for A.J. Hinch, Alex Bregman will drive in these runs, but if Chris Davinsky has to bat with the bases loaded, it could be of high comedic value. Devo was offered batting gloves, and he told people in the dugout, "I'm good."
That doesn't surprise me at all. No, they just intentionally walked Bregman.
And did you see the smile on Devo's face when he saw that?
He gets an AB, baby.
Chris Davinsky is going to get an at-bat with the bases loaded. Just like Evan Gattis, no pine tar, no batting gloves. Just Devo and a piece of lumber.
Just to let you know how hard that ball was hit off of Gurriel's bat, 105, right back at the pitcher. And anything above about 95, 96 is a hard hit ball.
Fastball from Freeman for a strike to Davinsky. Devo has had kind of a wry smile on his face ever since he stepped into the batter's box. soon as they issued that intentional walk to Bregman, Devo knew he was going to get a chance. In the dirt.
Well, you know relievers are athletes. You know with what Chris does on the mound, his ability to repeat his mechanics, he is an athlete.
He cannot stop smiling. Imagine if he gets a hit.
And all AJ is saying is don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. Don't pull an oblique.
That's a pretty good rip. 1-2.
Little Lancey went out of the zone right there. Fastball elevated, but put a nice pass on the ball. Put it in play. You never know what happens.
First career at bat for Chris Davinsky. And it comes with the bases loaded in a 7-4 game. And Davinsky goes down swinging. Well, he had a shot. Took some hacks there. And goes down swinging. The game stays 7-4.
Astros. We're to the bottom of the 7th and time to reveal tonight's winner of our Chevy Stroh poll. Thanks for voting in our poll. At Root Sports SW is where you can find it. And we asked you which race from last night was your favorite. 73% like Brad Peacock versus George Springer on the base pass. To no surprise. This was just
Julie, you got
classic.
robbed.
I did not. It's so good. Here comes George. He's on his heels.
Well, we did hear that if you actually had gotten on the track with the freeze, there would have been a lot more votes in your favor. So
Oh, I know. I appreciate the votes, though. That was fun.
Well, you never know, Julia. I mean, interleague baseball every 3 years, right? So if he's not training for the Olympics in 2020, maybe he'll get to race the freeze.
I'll be 3 years older.
right. You'll have to stay in shape. That's a long time to stay in shape, Julia.
I know.
Still got the guns going. Boom. Gun show here in Atlanta. We're on to the bottom half of the 7th inning. Matt Adams leads off against Chris Davinsky, and Devo went right back out there after a perpetual smile at the plate, batting with the bases loaded. He did strike out, but he ran into the dugout, grabbed his glove, and ran right back on the mound. He was the first one out on the field.
Not surprising at all.
And he gets a strikeout to start the bottom half of the 7th inning. Devo's amazing.
And Matt Adams might have some nightmares about the Chris Davinsky changeup because he just saw a couple of them, and I don't know if he was within about 12 inches of either one of them. Here you see the changeup, you see the side spin, and watch the ball just fall off the table. Watch how far he misses this ball by.
Breaking ball there to start the at-bat to Tyler Flowers. Flowers is the guy that got things going for the Braves in the bottom half of the 5th inning. He was down in the count 0-2. Musgrove had already struck out the first 2 hitters on 6 pitches. Had a chance at the 9-pitch immaculate inning, striking out all 3, but then Flowers doubled off the wall and right, actually singled off the wall and right. It was played nicely by George Springer. And then Johan Camargo doubled off the glove of Yuli Gurriel on a line drive. Starting pitcher Jaime Garcia, opposite field single off the glove of Alex Bregman, and then a home run by Ender Enciarte. So just like that, the Braves scored 4 runs with 4 batters, 2 outs, and nobody on in the 5th and an 0-2 count. Pitch is a strike. It's 1-2.
Todd, it seemed like they scored those 4 runs in about 3 minutes.
Right?
I mean, it happened quickly, but we have to remember Joe Musgrove threw the ball exceptionally well up until that point. So the line score isn't nearly as pretty as he would like it to be, but he threw the ball well tonight.
It was just that one little chunk of the game, and the rest of the game, the Astros pitching, Musgrove primarily has really dominated.
Yeah, not a whole lot of hard contact. Was throwing strikes. Struck out 6 or 7 on the night. Threw the ball well, but Just a few too many pitches on the plate. Wasn't able to get that third out. And it's something we had talked about earlier, how he had struggled with putting teams away in an inning once he's gotten 2 strikes. That's been an issue for him this year.
Pretty good AB here for Flowers. He has been impressive this year at the plate. 3-2 pitch, and he takes a pitch just missing outside, ball 4. So Davinsky with a 1-out walk to Tyler Flowers.
Here's what Joe Musgrove did tonight. You know, I thought he had really good fastball command, especially up in the zone. The breaking ball, he threw in the zone, he threw out of the zone. It was really just those few batters there in the 5th inning that got him in trouble. Gave up the 4 runs, but the Astros offense has covered that. Came back and scored 3 to take the lead here 7-4.
Now Johan Camargo will bat. Devo, after getting ahead of the count 1-2 on Flowers, is now missed on the next 3 deliveries. Camargo part of that 4-run rally.
Jerry Lane behind the dish. I think he missed that last pitch. That looked like a fastball that caught the top part of the zone on the outside corner. But after the walk to Tyler Flowers, now Chris Davinsky working himself in a little bit of trouble here with a 2-0 count to Camargo. There you see the top part of the zone just catching the corner.
Camargo may have done Davinsky a favor there. That 2-0 pitch may have been outside the zone. Instead, he fouls it back. It's 2-1. Danny Santana waits on deck as a pinch hitter.
Camargo seems to be a slashing type hitter. He's not necessarily looking for just strikes, just looking for a ball to barrel.
Into right field, Reddick is there. 2 outs in the 7th. Santana will get a chance to pinch hit. He will pinch hit for the pitcher Sam Freeman with 2 outs and a runner on. Chris Davinsky has faced Danny Santana before in his career, and it's always been advantage Devo. That changeup seems to fool him. He has faced him 3 times and struck him out all 3 times.
Well, Todd, with his command of that changeup and that low to mid-90s fastball, the success he has against left-handers is actually almost like he's a left-handed pitcher himself, because sometimes that changeup looks like a left-handed slider.
You saw him, Santana, bail out on that last changeup. He leaned back on the first changeup. You could almost triple up here.
His changeup has such lateral east and west movement that if he starts it inside, he can break it onto the plate. You can see that was absolutely no chance for Santana.
3 changeups to strike out Santana.
Light Blonde Spotlight. We're looking at a couple of holidays this year for the Houston Astros. Memorial Day, July 4th. Check this out. They combined for 32 runs, 37 hits, 11 doubles in there, 6 homers. They outscored the other team 32-12. Memorial Day's game getting a lot of votes. Remember, that was back in Minnesota. They had 19 hits that day. They tied a season high yesterday with 19 hits here. But the 11-run inning is what a lot of fans will remember. That was unforgettable, that inning. They were trailing. They came back. Twins had, what, a 99% chance to win that game at that time to start that inning, but not against this 2017 Houston Astros club, who came back not only to take the lead, but to beat them 16-8 was the eventual final in that game. Incredible stuff. It's still unbelievable as I look back at those highlights, guys.
The whole road season, Julia, has been incredible. As the pitch from Matt Wisler bounces to Nori Aoki. 7 runs tonight. That's about average.
It is about average for them on the road.
6.8. 6.85 coming into tonight. And especially those fireworks on those 2 holidays, as Julia mentioned, Memorial Day and 4th of July. Here's Nori Aoki. Taking a pitch outside for a ball 2-0. Whistler just joined the team before the game. He was recalled from AAA Gwinnett. Arodys Vizcaíno went to the disabled list with a right index finger strain. So Whistler is recalled.
25-year-old right-hander Matt Whistler. He was a 7th-round draft pick by the San Diego Padres in 2011.
He's fallen behind Aoki 3-1. Night last night filled with offensive fireworks. Josh Reddick provided the grand finale, if you will, with that slam, his 5th of his career. And a 5-pitch walk to Aoki. So Nori, since coming into the game, has been on base both times, a leadoff double, and now he's drawn a walk.
And Nori started off that 3-run rally last inning in the 7th. Gets on base again here. And that's one of the reasons why Jeff Luhnow brought him on. Was, he is a guy that carries a high on base percentage in his career. But I think they've been pleasantly surprised by how well he swings the bat. His ability to put the ball in play when the ball is in the zone.
So here's George Springer. He's been on base another 3 times tonight. George has been on base 8 times in this series. He has scored 3 runs tonight after scoring 3 runs last night. He is up to 70 runs on the season. Takes a strike, 0-1.
George, no power tonight. He's got 3 singles, but 2 stolen bases and 2 RBIs. So there'll be some smack talking on the flight to Toronto with the 2 stolen bases. First of the year for George Springer.
Yeah, he will definitely make people aware of that. He already did while he was at second base earlier. Down to a knee, it's 0-2. Six runs scored in this series. George is fastly approaching Aaron Judge in that category. George takes a pitch down low. It's 1-2. Yeah, George made sure he flashed the sign 2 fingers, kind of like the hook 'em horn sign, making sure that people in the dugout knew that yes, he does have 2 steals, not only in this game but on the season, passing Brian McCann in that big category.
With these 3 hits from George Springer, he's actually elevated his batting average above 300 now, 301.
And Yuli's reached 300 because he's 2 for 4 tonight. So you have Springer, Reddick, Altuve. No Carlos Correa tonight, nursing a little bit of a sore thumb, but he could have played. Marwin Gonzalez, Yuli Gurriel. 5 of the first 6 hitters in the lineup hitting 300 or better. There goes the runner Aoki, swing and a miss. The throw is not in time. Aoki has a steal. For Nori, that'll be his 5th steal of the year.
Springer strikes out on the pitch. But you can see the Tyler Flowers throw sail well high. No play at all there at second base.
Here's Jose Altuve.
So you said 6 hitters with a 300 average or more?
Well, 5 of the first 6 in the lineup now. If Carlos Correa was in there.
Okay, that would be your 6th.
That would be the 6th. Right now, Springer, even with that strikeout, down to an even 300. Altuve's at 335. Reddick's at 312. If Correa was in the lineup, he's at 320. Marwin's at 316, and Yuli's at an even 300 with his 2-hit night. Altuve into center field. Enciarte, a very good defensive player, won the Gold Glove last year, tracks that one down. Aoki will tag and move to third, 2 outs. The ball gets away momentarily from Phillips, but not far enough for Aoki to advance. So here's the Georgia boy, Josh Reddick. Big grand slam last night. Has a 2-run double tonight. 6 RBIs in this mini 2-game series back in his home state.
A lot of players, when they come home, they actually struggle. You know, whether it's dealing with family and tickets and everyone pulling at you off the field. But that hasn't been the case for Josh Reddick. He's played extremely well over this little short 2-game series.
Strike called. Astros led this game 4-0. The Braves came back to score 4 in the 5th. Out of nowhere, 2 outs, nobody on. And Houston put 3 more back on the board in the top half of the 7th inning. RBIs by George Springer, Jose Altuve, and Marwin Gonzalez, giving the Astros a 3-run lead. Whistler has been mostly a starter in his previous 2 seasons with the Braves. And there's Reddick doing it again. Into left field, base hit. 7th RBI of this 2-game series, and the Astros lead it 8-4. Welcome home, Josh.
Reddick using the whole field here, gets a pitch up and out over the plate. Maybe even a ball off the plate. And just flicks it down the left field line for another RBI and a single. And that's what's making these Astros so tough to pitch to. You know, this isn't a team that is just swinging to hit the ball out of the ballpark all the time. This is a team that, if there's runners on base, they're going to really just take what they get, what the pitcher gives them, and drive in the runs regardless of how they have to do it.
We heard Joe Girardi call this offense relentless. He's not the only one. More than just the Yankees manager feels that same way about this Houston lineup. Evan Gattis, the batter, that bounces in there. Reddick stays at second. It's time for me to get the calculator back out. We did this last night with the Astros moving up to 6.85 runs per game with their 16-run outburst. That's over 39 games on the year. They were at 6.85. Tonight, they add 8 more runs to that total. So they have now scored 275 runs on the season on the road as we play the 40th game. Now 6.88. And there's still 4 outs to work with. The out here in the 8th inning and the rest of the ninth.
They still have a runner on base in scoring position in Josh Reddick at second base. And I think that's the Joe Girardi term for this offense is fitting.
6.88. You're getting into like murderer's row Yankees categories. For real. I mean, not many teams have compared to this in years. As Evan Gattis gets hit by that pitch, he usually doesn't feel too much pain on those hit by pitches. He is worried about the baseball after that. I mean, there it is. The 94 Yankees, remarkable. That's for a full season. But since 1913, we're talking about 104 years ago, it was only those incredible Yankees offenses in the 30s.
Well, you have to remember, 1994 was actually strike-shortened season, so that's not even a full 162. And look at the dates of those Yankees teams. I mean, that's when you're having to go back 75, 80, 85 years to see what the Astros have been doing. I mean, this is just, it's so fun to watch, and it's got to be great to be a pitcher on this staff knowing that you're getting that kind of run support on a nightly basis.
When this road trip started, they were at 6.6, and you're thinking, man, 6.6 runs a game, and here they are at 6.88. It just keeps going up. Here's Marwin Gonzalez. If only Chris Davinsky could hit.
That's right.
We could be looking at a
all
double
on Chris Davinsky.
batter with the bases loaded as in the last inning. There's a pitch outside. Devo can do everything else, but the joy of watching him bat with the bases loaded was one of the better moments tonight.
He sure had a smile on his face, but once he struck out, he got back to the dugout in a hurry and got back to where he knows he's good, and that's on the mound.
First major league at bat of Chris Davinsky's career. Game tonight. By
the way, Todd, in this short 2-game series so far that we're not quite done with, Astros have 34 hits.
Wow. And 24 runs. And it's 2-1 on Marwin. That's the pitch, or that is a pitch that Marwin may have offered at last year, but his zone control has been so much better.
You know, what I'm seeing from Marwin more than anything else is how quiet and slow the game is to him now. I felt like last year and in previous years where he wasn't getting as much playing time, he looked like as soon as the pitcher would separate his hands, he was swinging at pitches. He had already predetermined that he was hacking. Now he's seeing the ball in flight.
And he rips one into right center field. Astros are going to score more. Around third and scoring is Reddick. Now being waved around is Evan Gaddis. The throw by Phillips, not in time. Gonzalez is going to be hung up between second and third. And the Braves try and put a tag on. Marwin trying to get an interference call. Marwin's out, but he gets a 2 RBI double, and the Astros are leading this game 10-4. The inning is over. We'll recap that play when we come back. Four as we head to the bottom half of the 8th inning. 7 doubles last night, 6 more doubles tonight. Last one for Marwin Gonzalez.
That was another one of those very crisp sounding hits with Marwin Gonzalez catching the ball right on the sweet spot. Another pitch elevated up and out over the plate, driving in 2. Then gets in the rundown, tries to get Freddie Freeman on a little bit of an interference, but you know, that just we were talking before the break, before the hit, about how quiet he is at the plate and how many times he's been able to square the ball, and that's exactly what he did for us, and just driving the ball into the right center field gap with a great swing and nice result. 2 RBIs with 2 outs.
Well, here's the situation. Up 6, bottom half of the 8th inning, where Will Harris is going to get a chance to pitch. Normally, this is not his spot. He'll deal with the top of the order, but the reality is he was already warm and ready to go before that little rally there late.
And he hasn't pitched since Saturday. You know, going into a 4-game series, the one thing that AJ has to really try and keep an eye on isn't just how much they're working, how much they're not working.
On the ground to short, Marwin is there. That's out number 1.
You know, relievers are used to getting consistent work, and most relievers just don't like to sit down there for 4 or 5 days in a row. They like to get that consistent work to keep their mechanics together, to keep the feel for the breaking ball. So I think this is a good idea, after not pitching for a few days, getting Will in there to get ready for the Toronto Blue Jays over the weekend.
Here's Brandon Phillips. 1 out, nobody on. Astros with a big 3-run 7th, followed by a big 3-run 8th. For you, what was the time down before you were kind of feeling like you needed to get back in there?
I came to the ballpark every day wanting to pitch and expecting to pitch. But if I had more than about 3 days off, my mechanics would suffer. You know, I was not.
Line drive to Reddick.
I was not one of those guys that could sit down there. You know, Mariano Rivera, the best closer of all time, he could sit down there for a week and come out after that and dominate. Mechanics are together, moving the ball around, velocity's there. Most relievers aren't like that. They're used to consistent work. They need to be out on the field. Mariano is just a freak of nature.
Yeah, he was, like you said, he was different than almost any pitcher you'll ever see.
It was funny. They would call down and they would actually ask him, you know, later in his career, do you want an inning? And he would look at the bullpen pitching coach and just go, no. Just, it was that simple. Yeah. No, I'm good.
I'm good.
You haven't pitched in 5 days, but hey, I'm Mariano Rivera. I can do what I want.
Not going to argue with that guy with those results. Here's Freddie Freeman. Freeman is 1 for 3 tonight. Well, the home road splits have been interesting for both Will Harris, Luke Gregerson, and really Ken Giles, the three guys in the back end of the bullpen. For Harris and Gregerson, much better on the road than at home. And for Ken Giles, he has been lights out at Minute Maid Park.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, if there was something you could put your finger on, you would change it. You know, a lot of it's just luck of the draw. But I had a situation one time, to go back to the workload, that due to certain situations, I hadn't pitched in about a week. And Joe Torre puts me in the game, get an out or two, you know, pitch well. He comes out to take the ball because the inning's not over yet, and he sticks his hands out. And instead of saying good job, he goes, I didn't know what to expect from you. I handed him the ball and said, neither did I, and walked off. Because I was one of those guys that needed the consistent work. I needed to be on the mound, because more than anything else, it was as much for my mentality. A lot of times when I just sat, I would go too hard when I finally did get into a game.
You played for some of the winningest managers in baseball history, huh?
I've been blessed way more than I deserved. Yes, Bobby Cox, Joe Torre, and several very good managers in between. But you know, both of those guys, Hall of Famers.
Harris with a 2-2 count on Freddie Freeman. The pitcher of record for the Astros right now is the guy that batted with the bases loaded, Chris Devenski. Devo came on with 2 outs and nobody on in the 6th inning and retired Nick Markakis. The Astros would score 3 in the 7th to take a 7-4 lead, and they now lead 10-4. That was one of those where A.J. Hinch, even though Musgrove had struck out Markakis the first 2 at-bats, felt like Joe had worked pretty hard through that previous inning when he gave up the 4 runs, and just did not want Musgrove to give anything up at that point, even though the bases were empty.
Well, and Musgrove much better against right-handers than left-handers, and Chris Devenski, it's like he's a left-handed pitcher with that changeup. So he brought him in, did a nice job against Markakis.
Freeman's 2 for 4 tonight with a base hit to center field. Braves fans, if nothing else in this series, have enjoyed the return of Freddie Freeman. There are still 2 All-Stars yet to be announced, and you can vote to determine who will fill that final AL and NL roster spot. Visit MLB.com/vote and cast your 2017 Esurance MLB All-Star Game final vote through 5 p.m. Central tomorrow night. So down to the final 24 hours in that vote. Last I saw, that vote was getting pretty close. Mike Moustakas was leading in the American League. Moustakas will be participating in the Home Run Derby.
It's going to be interesting to see what Kansas City does come the trade deadline. A team that has struggled this year and has 4 or 5 free agents come the end of the season. Hosmer and Moustakas are 2 of them.
They're right in the mix right now for that second wild card. They've been playing better, winning 3 in a row coming into today. KC trailing in Seattle 5-4. A lot of runs scored at Safeco Field early on in that game.
Yeah, but the question in that situation, is that second wild card worth letting these guys play through the season and not getting much in return? Lorenzo Cain is another one. I mean, you're talking about the real core of this team is going to be free agents.
Ball into shallow right center field. Reddick comes on, has to play it on a hop. Freeman will move to third. Matt Kemp, a little flare single to right. Kemp's first hit of this game and his first hit of the series keeps this inning alive.
Looked like Will Harris was going inside. That's a breaking ball, actually, and that one just kind of spun. Matt Kemp, nice job of staying inside. That didn't hit it overly hard, but got it in between Springer and Reddick in right center field.
Nick Markakis will face Harris.
That breaking ball that Matt Kemp just hit, Todd, that is the definition of a hanger. That ball did not break well, just kind of spun on the inside part of the plate.
Back to Will Harris. The former infielder makes the play easily, and that'll do it. Astros head to the ninth with a 6-run lead. Another night filled with offense for the Astros. That's what happens when they leave town. They just break on the road, and tonight, 6 doubles amongst their hits.
And Todd, it hasn't been all to the pull field. It hasn't been all to the opposite field. It's been a combination of these hitters using the whole field. And, you know, there have been some hard hit balls. There have been some balls that have found holes. But more than anything else, what they've done is they've put the ball in play and just trusted their ability to do just that. And they've gotten crazy results with all this. You see 16 hits and 10 runs tonight. That's 35 hits over the last 2 nights. 35 hits and 29 runs. You like your chances to win when you put up that kind of offense? Goodness gracious.
Yuli Gurriel takes a pitch inside from Whistler. It's 2-0. Yuli has a couple of hits tonight. He has 2 singles. If the Astros pick up another double, they'll do something that hasn't happened except for one other time in the last 104 years. And that is 3 straight games of 7 doubles or more.
Wow.
The 1999 Indians did it. And right now, the Astros total over these last 3 games is the 4th most in Major League Baseball history and the 2nd most in the last 86 years. 20 doubles over the last 3 games. That 3-0 pitch is a called strike. Really almost got a rare walk as Matt Whistler pitches his 2nd inning of work. Ground ball towards short. Camargo is there. He's made all the plays tonight. 1 out in the 9th. League leaders are presented by Houston Methodist. They are more than double in run differential better than the next closest team. The Boston Red Sox are a plus 45. The Astros, including tonight, have scored 200. Going into tonight, have scored 267 runs, so they were plus 101. Right now, if the game ended like this, they'd be plus 107.
Todd, run differential can be a little misleading. It's not a number that you can look at and say, okay, just because this number is good, they've been doing a nice job. You have to look at the bigger picture. But to me, what really jumped out was the gap between 1st and 2nd. I mean, they've more than doubled the Boston Red Sox. And that just shows how prolific this offense has been. Scoring runs, driving in. It's really been just a blast to sit and watch these guys. And I can't wait to see where they are by the time we get to the end of September going into October.
And occasionally there's an outlier. Last year, the Rangers were able to put up great winning percentage despite a run differential that wasn't as strong. And this year, the Minnesota Twins are hanging around the Cleveland Indians, even though their run differential is not even close to Cleveland's. But for the most part, usually the better teams are dominating that category.
Just not dominating with a triple-digit number in 100.
Popped high in the air off the bat of Bregman into shallow center field. Inciarte and Phillips converge, and it's Brandon who takes it for out number 2.
But, I mean, you can have a team that has a tendency to score a lot of runs on any particular day and then, then struggle for a couple days. So it's, you have to look at some other numbers. It's always good to have a positive run differential, but to have, again, we're not talking about a season here. We're talking about 85 games, and they're 100 games over in their run differential.
Carlos Beltran gets his first at bat in this Atlanta series, and nice for Carlos to get a chance here because A, he may not play here in Atlanta again, and B, this is a guy that has the best OPS in the history of Turner Field. Better than any Atlanta Brave, better than any other visiting player. 1,000 .204 OPS at Turner Field. So he likes hitting in this city.
One thing about Atlanta, especially when it starts heating up, the ball does fly. Fulton County Stadium was known as the launching pad. And it was because there were a lot of home runs hit there, but it was also the highest elevation city in all the big leagues prior to Coors Field in Colorado. So the ball has a tendency, especially when it heats up, to fly, and we've seen the ball fly around this new ballpark here. As beautiful as it is, it does seem to be hitter friendly.
It's not a city that was very kind to the Astros prior to this series. Final 20 years at Turner Field, the Astros were just 17-34. Beltran hits one pretty hard, but it's up in the air, and that means Enciarte, who covers all kind of ground, will have a chance to make a play on it. And he does. 1, 2, 3, top half of the ninth. Astros up 6. Baseball on Root Sports is presented by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. And by Toyota. Let's go places. Astros were happy to go to Atlanta to enjoy this new stadium in beautiful Cobb County, Georgia, not far from downtown Atlanta. And they'll also be going places tonight after the game. They're heading out into the country, taking on the Toronto Blue Jays for 4, beginning tomorrow. New pitcher for the Astros in the bottom half of the ninth inning is Tony Sipp.
34-year-old left-hander hasn't pitched since last Saturday, has pitched much better as of late. And we're starting to see him be a little more trusted by A.J. Hinch, getting to pitch in some tighter ball games. This isn't actually one of him, but he hasn't pitched in a few days, so get him in there. Again, getting ready for that weekend series up in Toronto against the Blue Jays.
Astros will play 4 against the Jays beginning tomorrow night. Day games on Saturday and Sunday. And then a lot of guys looking forward to that 4-day All-Star break. First pitch that Matt Adams sees as he drives one to right field. It's hooked. Home run distance, but foul.
You know, to finish our thought on the run differential stat, but the other side of that is you have to have a pitching staff that's getting guys out, that aren't giving up a lot of base runners, also a lot of runs. So it really shows that both sides, the offense and the pitching, has done a pretty nice job.
Adams 0 for 3 tonight. Came in with an OPS of 961 here at SunTrust Park, the best on the Braves roster. With a win tonight, the Angels won earlier tonight. The Angels had lost 3 in a row, the Mariners had lost 2 in a row, and the Rangers had lost 3 in a row. The Astros led by 16 games coming in to today's play. The Angels won, winning 2-1 in Minnesota. If this 6-run lead holds up, the Astros will maintain their largest lead in franchise history of 16 games. Stephen King was wondering, what's the largest All-Star break lead ever? And the Astros right now are in rare company. They have the second largest lead ever if that 16-game lead holds. 14.5 is currently the second biggest lead.
Yeah, the largest is the 2001 Mariners at 19. So they're in shouting distance. But this doesn't take away anything of what the Astros have done here in 2017. You know, those numbers have a lot to do with also the division that you play in. And you know, this American League Western Division was supposed to be a better division. You know, the Rangers were supposed to be good. The Seattle Mariners were supposed to be good. If the Angels were supposed to get any pitching with all that young pitching, they had a chance of being good, and it just simply hasn't worked out for the other teams. Now you have to remember the Astros have also played very well inside their division to hold those teams down.
Tyler Flowers, the batter. The Astros had, coming into tonight, not only that 16-game lead, a comebacker to Tony Sipp. Astros 1 out away from a victory. Not only did they have that 16-game lead, the next best record in the American League belonged to the Boston Red Sox, and they've been playing great baseball. They've won 6 in a row. They're up to 49 and 35, 14 games over 500, but they're a full 8 games behind the Astros for the best record in the American League. Boston losing tonight 8-0 in Texas. The Dodgers have been on an incredible run on the other side in the National League, but this Astros team, and they still have fewer losses now, 57 and 27, about to go to 58 and 27. Fewer losses now than they did after 45 games last year when they started the year 17 and 28.
It's been such a pleasure to sit here and watch this team, really watch them grow, because they got off to a good start, but I don't think they really believed in themselves until about mid-May. And then around mid-May, you started seeing the team not just rely and have confidence in themselves. You saw this team really starting to buy into what everybody else was doing, that the swing and misses went down. And what that tells me is you're trusting the guy behind you.
85 games in, fewer losses than you had 45 games in last year.
You really can't. There's no rhyme or reason. I mean, you really can't. I mean, because especially when you look at what this team has been through. At one point, 80% of what their spring training, prior to spring training, 80% of their rotation on the DL, if you put Colin McHugh involved in there, and they just kept winning.
Astros fans who have shown up here in Atlanta are starting to filter down towards the Astros dugout, hoping to get a close-up look of their favorite players before they head out of town. A lot of orange and blue, a lot of orange and navy at SunTrust Park. There's a line drive, and this game will continue on the base hit off the bat of Johan Camargo. Now, this kid's looked impressive. He's a guy to keep an eye on. This is our first look at 23-year-old infielder from Panama. And defensively, he's been very smooth, and he's had some good at-bats.
Made all the plays in the field, showed a nice arm across the infield, and he's shown the ability to put the bat on the ball. I called him earlier a little bit of a slasher-type hitter, which means it sometimes there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason what direction he hits the ball. He'll take a ball on the inside and hit it to the opposite field, take a pitch out over the plate and pull it like he did this one right here. But seems to be a player with some ability. He's got a long way to go to become an everyday shortstop in Major League Baseball, but you can understand why the Braves have been high on him.
Now Sip will face a pinch hitter, Lane Adams. Get a chance to pinch hit. Adams struck out as a pinch hitter in last night's game. Braves down to their final out. They will head to Washington after this game to play 4 with the Nationals. Nationals have the second biggest lead in baseball, starting tonight's play with a 9-game lead over these Atlanta Braves. Washington was rained out tonight against the Mets in the nation's capital. So with a Braves loss, they will start that series up 9.5. Two teams that trained in the ballpark of the Palm Beaches having a nice 2017 so far. Sip ahead of the count, 1-2. Tony Sip trying to close things out. Will Harris pitched the 8th. Chris Davinsky an inning and a third. Joe Musgrove, except for a little 4-batter blip, was really good tonight. That blip, though, cost him 4 runs. And the Astros offense doing their thing on the road. They're up to averaging 6.925 runs per game on the season on the road. And that is the ball game. Adams goes down, and Tony Sip finishes it out with a strikeout. Astros with a 16-hit, 10-run attack, 35 hits, and 26 runs in this 2-game series sweep.
The player of the game is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, and it's going to be, who else? George Springer. George just having an incredible 2-game series, an incredible run, getting his average up over 300, 3 for 5 tonight. No home runs, no doubles, 3 singles, but you see the 3 runs, 2 RBIs, stole a couple bases. really did it all